Hey, we are on the aligned offer protocol workshop, and we're going to take you through. My goal is essentially to take you through to build an incredible offer. And so I'm going to share my screen. We're going to go through the process, and ultimately my goal is to help you get clear. So I know if we get clear, then and we have something that people want, then we have something that we feel comfortable in delivering and comfortable in it and confident in it, that we're going to be able to show up better for people, and we're going to be able to transform more lives, and we're going to have more fun doing it. So that's my goal. That like everything that comes down to that is like, how can we actually transform lives in a fun way, where it's not like we're not forcing stuff, we're not trying to make things happen in a way that they shouldn't, but we're just genuinely helping people and serving people well. So yeah, let's dig into it. I'm going to share my screen, and we're going to go through the different processes, and we'll see how it is. So welcome to the aligned offer protocol. And our goal is to actually design an offer that's so good that people don't want to leave. Because if we create an offer that's actually transformational and actually really, really helps people as a whole, then we're going to be able to, in the long run, this is a lot of long-term thinking, because in the long run, our goal is to have an incredible offer to where we feel very confident in and we're able to do it. However, to get there, there's a journey to get there. And we're going to cover that journey today. And I want to give you guys clarity. I want you guys to walk away with something that you feel right about. Now, I'm going to zoom in here so we can see this better. Okay, so my goal is to create an offer that aligns with who you are, so you can show up with more powerful in it. It's clear and concise, so everyone you share it with understands it quickly. It's very important. Is desirable to your dream clients, making it a no-brainer for them to join. Is optimized for happy customers, aka is transformational first approach instead of a transaction first approach. Because we position our stuff and we create our stuff for transformation, we're setting ourselves instantly apart from a lot of other people in the marketplace, because a lot of people are just going after the opportunity because they want sales. So we want to do things differently, actually create things for happy customers. And I want it to be something that you can confidently sell for, I said 2K plus or day after day. Okay, you feel great about selling it. It doesn't need to be a 2K offer. That's the thing that I kind of hold to, because I believe that if you actually, by charging a little bit more than just low ticket, a lot of times we just want to do low ticket stuff that's a little bit easier in a sense, but it's not actually that easy, because it's harder to get people results at a low ticket thing, because a lot of people they buy because it's a good idea instead of actually, hey, I want to follow this process. And so we want people that actually want to follow our process, because their mindset isn't right beforehand, then they're not going to actually end up getting the result. And if they don't get the result, then we can't really help them. So anyway, I believe, and we'll go deeper into that later, but best practices as you build. And I want you guys to be in the right mindset as you think through these things. Because again, a lot of the stuff that I'm going to cover today is stuff that you need to take some time to think through. So I want to bring understanding, watch these videos to get the understanding of it, but then take some time to think, to set aside some time to think through it and really feel it out with the Holy Spirit. And so that's the first thing, is be led by the Holy Spirit, intuition. And as you go through this, be tuned into your peace, which is where you're in to what your intuition is saying. Don't second guess. Write what you feel in the spirit. The best offers align with what you carry and what the world needs. Be abundance minded. The number one reason people aren't successful has nothing to do with tactics or strategies. There's people that can go through here, and just because it's the right tactics, and I worked with a lot of different people, and I can tell you the number one thing that set people apart, whether they were successful or not successful, was how they approached it. Instead of focusing on the tactics and strategies and saying, this is my answer, and like, this has to be it, this has to be the way to do it, they instead just had an abundance mindset, and they lived from that place of abundance, and they believed that they could do it. So if you're called to something, like Jesus didn't question his identity, he didn't question what he was created to do and what he was created to bring. He knew what he was created to bring, and he stood in that powerfully. And so you want to do the same thing. And if it's rooted in poverty, you'll always struggle. If it's rooted in God's abundance, everything will actually work out, which is awesome. Another thing, be detached. And what I mean by that is your value does not come from whether you win or lose or how people respond to you, but by who you are and whose you are. We want to be so grounded in our Christ identity that whether we win or lose, so because there's an inevitable thing that will happen when you start building this stuff and you start working with it, is there are some roadblocks that will come up. There's some things that won't work as well as you want it to work. And that's all right because that's part of the process. So our goal is to detach from that and instead approach it from a place of groundedness and humility and curiosity. So, because if we're detached from the outcome, then the outcome won't control, or the circumstances or stuff comes up against us, it won't control us. If we are attached to the outcomes, if we're attached to everything that's going on, then there's going to be these hooks within us where it will control us and keep us from being successful. So we want to be detached. Um, you want to also, this is a big thing, action precedes clarity. Don't get caught up in wasting the next few weeks trying to get this perfect. There's no perfect niche. There's no perfect offer. It's through action and implementation that everything gets clear. And this is a big deal because a lot of times we like to overthink and it's our excuse for not taking action. So instead, when we take action, that's when clarity comes because your goal is to just get some stuff on paper, get an offer out there that you're like, okay, I believe I could present this offer, share it with some people. And as you do, all of a sudden you're going to be like, oh, this part I don't like, that part I don't like. Oh, this needs to be added here because it didn't work well with people. People didn't receive this well. And so as you do that, as you focus on taking action first, you will get more clarity. Be a scientist. The idea of being a scientist is simply this. You want to get comfortable with testing all of this out. Your first offer that we create may not be the home run. It may not be quite what you want it to be. That's fine. That's all right. Give yourself permission to learn. Keep testing, tweaking, optimizing until you find something that works well for you. Again, this is the whole principle. Literally anything that's ever been successful went through this process where it's the Einstein thing of creating the light bulb, where essentially he tried an idea, came up with an idea, he tried it, he learned from it, he went back to the drawing board, tried another idea, learned from it, went back to the drawing board, tried another idea, learned from it. I think he said that he found like it was 10,000 times like that he tries that he had until he got it perfect. And that's what we want to do. We want to give ourselves permission to actually build. And if you're in this right mindset, then your offer will be successful. So with all this in mind, this is what we're going to cover in this workshop in the aligned offer protocol. We're going to look at the offer evolution, essentially how an offer is created, how to put it out there to where it's simple and you don't have to force it and it doesn't like you don't get overwhelmed. It's profitability. One, we're going to look at the profitability of your idea because we start with an idea and look at the profitability of it. Two, we're going to look at the person that's right for that idea for what you want to offer. Three, we're going to determine what your positioning is in the marketplace because if you determine your positioning correctly, then it makes it easier to sell. And so we're going to get clear on that. Four, we're going to look at the process that this is your specific signature process and journey that you create, that you present to people, and how you're going to help them get the results and get the transformation that they're signing up for. Five, we're going to look at how to productize the process, how to take the process and create deliverables for it. Six, we're going to look at your packaging. Essentially, this is the actual like the different tiers that you have that you want to package it as and how to package it well, how to get started. Seven, we're going to look at how to polish it up. And these are all the naming stuff, the pricing to the guarantees, scarcity, those different things, urgency, and so on and so forth. And also, finally, we're going to create your offer doc. And then and there's an action step at the end for you to actually share your offer. And some of you will be getting your first clients just from sharing it following this system. Welcome to Offer Evolution. And essentially, my goal is to give you an overview of how to create your offer from the beginning, from the idea into something bigger. Now, I want you to have this mindset as you do this and understand that the progression of an offer, like there's a progression that needs to happen. Like Rome wasn't built in a day, and we've heard that. And so it's like, but for me, like there's this vision that I had about building my company, Strategic Goodness. And this was, I don't know, a year or two ago. But I saw myself on a rowboat with the name Strategic Goodness tacked onto the side. It was like this paper thing tacked onto the side. I was out at sea constantly rowing. I was out at sea. I was rowing this rowboat and not really seeming to be getting anywhere. But as I rowed, the rowboat slowly started getting into metal, turning into metal. Like they started like getting metal sides, getting slapped on the sides. It started getting a bigger boat. It was like a full metal boat with an engine. Soon it had an engine, and as it continued, the boat got bigger and bigger and bigger until it was this beautiful yacht. And that's kind of what the progression of your business. Like you need to understand, like, hey, in the beginning, you're just going to be like this rowboat out in the middle of the sea. And it's like it's gonna be a little bit interesting sometimes. But as you journey through this, then all of a sudden, like all these things will be added and it'll start making sense and things will start working and it'll feel good. And eventually you'll have exactly what you want it to build. So we need to understand the evolution of how that offer works. Now, our goal is to build something truly great that will last. We do this by focusing on transformation and getting super focused. A lot of people they're not super focused. They have multiple different offers. They're like, well, I have this, I help people with this, and I help people with that. They have this kind of offer, and I have that kind of offer, and I have this little thing. But we want to get super focused so that we have one thing that we're focusing on, and then we're getting really good at helping people with that one thing. So one clear offer, one clear customer journey. That's our signature journey that we guide people through, and we can have multiple tiers of this journey, which is what I call a hybrid community. And it follows Jesus' model, where again, like if you watch the webinar that I've done, but there's four different tiers to Jesus' model. One is the crowd, and this is the 5,000. This is the people in his, like everybody that came out to him and listened to him speak. Second is the community, and those are the 72. Those are the disciples that started following him and listening to him after he started speaking to the like with the crowd. They learn about him through the crowd. They joined his community. Then then he had the 12, which was the circle. These were his immediate people that he chose to walk with him. And then he also had the core, which was Peter, James, and John, had the most access to him. Now, what's interesting about Jesus is that he went the opposite way. He started with the core. He chose Peter, James, and John. He invited them to come join him and come follow him. He started with that. I feel like there's a reason that he did this because it's strategic. But he started with the core, then he invited the 12, and then he started going out into the crowds and getting in the community. And in the same way, you want to kind of build your stuff in the same way because our goal is to get our journey right and get our process right so that we can serve the crowds and the community in the right way. Because the simple reality is it's easier to get people results when you're working as really hand in hand with them, and it's much harder to get them results if they're the ones like doing it and but you've set up all the systems. So because it takes a lot more work to create the great systems for that to be able to work. So we want to also do the same thing. Now, this is kind of like, again, the process, like eventually this is kind of what your hybrid community offer will look like, where you have the crowd is your free community, where you have master classes, video podcasts, completion challenges, paid workshops, different things in that free community. And the goal of the free community is to set people up to be part of your community, your scalable group. And this is the scalable group where you might have one-on-one onboarding, but everything else is scalable. And the reason one-on-one onboarding is it's really smart just to get people started on the right foot. And you might have gamified courses, private communities, community calls, monthly workshops, etc. Again, we're going to talk through how this looks like. We're going to talk through some of the pricing as well. But I want you to see this kind of, hey, this is kind of what we're going for, and this is what we're shooting for in our offer to eventually create, and this is what we're building up to. But there's a way to do this strategically. Then your circle is your scalable with one-on-one. So it's basically instead of just a bunch of Zoom sessions and one-on-one calls that are all scheduled where you have to show up on this time and this time and this time and this time, and you kind of get a lot of time wasters and time suck calls that you don't really need to have. We want to avoid those, so we do a lot of private chats and with a private circle and so on and so forth. So this is scalable, but it's with one-on-one, so it's not as scalable. Like you have to be careful with how many people you can have join here. But then the core is like, this is the unscalable version of your offer. And the unscalable version of your offer is going to include like done for you elements. It's going to like, you get to kind of choose like, and kind of, again, we're going to go into this later of how to create this, but you get to kind of choose what you want to put in this, but it's unscalable for a reason. Like there's a reason you only have 3 people in it. But when you start with that, then you learn how to actually deliver something of value in a great way that lets you then serve people at a more scalable way, and then finally get that full scalable group together. Now, if you already have, like some of you might already have your core, you might already have your system and your core and all this stuff ready to go, and you're ready to start with your circle, which is more scalable model. Or maybe you already have your circle and you're just ready to start with your community. You can kind of choose which one you're ready for, but essentially this is the process that you have to go through. And there's specific ways to get there while getting paid to test things out and learn. While being a scientist, that's our goal, is as we're being a scientist and as we're learning how to build our offer, that we can do it in a way that's strategic and we can get paid to test things out and learn how to do this. Again, Elon Musk did this with Tesla, where his first Tesla was it was the core. It was like the most expensive Tesla out there because it was a new idea, it was a new concept. And then he learned from it. He weeded it out, created models of Teslas that were more available for more people. And his latest Teslas are actually quite available for, like, affordable for a lot of people. So, but again, it's that same process, that same principles that we want to do. We want to start off with the core, get really good at delivering it, then get into the more scalable models. So first thing you want to do is clarify your signature model, which that's what we want to do in this workshop. That's the core of your offer, is you want to have a signature process and a journey that you take people through that you can point to and say, hey, this is how we do it. Again, what did I show you here? Like this hybrid community offer, it's a signature way of doing things that I do the way that I do it. And so people either relate with it or they don't, right? So clarify your signature model. That's the first thing we want to do. Get 3 to 5 core clients to prove your model works. So it's high touch, higher ticket clients. It might be higher ticket. You might start, again, we'll talk about pricing later, but how you start, you need to start with what feels right with you and what feels right with your customers. Then you want to create the needed frameworks and deliverables to make it more scalable. Then you want to, because as you deliver with these core clients, you're going to be able to make these things, and you might already have some of these things, but you'll be able to clarify, okay, these are the ones I actually need. I'm going to get rid of these. You kind of learn your process better. Then you want to get 10 to 20 circle clients. And these are the scalable ones with one-on-one chat, because again, as you work with people one-on-one, you're going to learn so much more than if, again, a lot of times we want the scalable thing right away because it's the thing that sounds awesome. Well, the problem is when we start with that, we end up building something that doesn't work, and where people don't get results. People don't, like, statistically, only 3% of people actually complete an online course. So what happens is we build something that doesn't work, and then we don't feel right about it. So we don't feel right about selling it. And then we just kind of give up. And so many people follow that model because they didn't do it in the right manner. They didn't actually get great at delivering their process first. But if you focus on this in a year or two, you can have this fully built out and full in less than a year if you do this right. But then all of a sudden now you have the scalable version that you can sell whenever, and it's simple. There's a simplicity to it. So create all the, like, once you get these clients, then you want to create all of your scalable elements that you need, like courses, automations, and stuff like that. Again, in the beginning, we're just starting with frameworks. Like a lot of times, a lot of the clients that I work with, because I've worked with a lot of the core clients, I've worked with some circle clients. As I'm making this, I've worked with some circle clients. And with the circle clients, I just gave them frameworks. There was no videos attached. There were just frameworks of helping them accomplish the thing and go through my signature model. And so now I've learned from that and learned things that didn't work and things that do work. And guess what I'm doing? I'm now creating the different elements that I can then use in my community and deliver better with my circle, my more scalable models. So that's where I'm at in this journey. But even for yourself, look at where you're at, because then you can add in your community. Like once you have your scalable elements done, you can add in your community, you can add in your crowd, and then you start really growing it and multiplying your impact and your income, because you did the journey right. There's a way to do the journey right. Again, a lot of times we want to skip steps, and because we want to skip steps, things don't turn out well, and then we kind of give up before we can even make anything good. So this allows you, and when you do it this way, by the way, it allows you to build with less pressure and more pleasure, because the simple reality is creating the community aspect takes a lot of effort and it takes a lot of time. It's not easy. It's hard to do because like creating all the courses and figuring out, okay, I got to say this and not say this. And a lot of times we overteach when we first get started, and we don't want to do that. So, but if you do it in the right order, it makes everything more simple. And you're learning to build the program as you eventually, a program that eventually nobody can compete with because you actually did it in the right order and you created something that was genuinely good. So that's the way we want to do this. Notes, many think they are ready for a circle or the community, but they don't have one clear model to help people. Instead, they've been all over the road. Again, I see a lot of, like, this was my problem for a long time, is I help people with, like, I help people one-on-one, but there was no clear model. Like, I had, like, this client, I was helping them with email. This client, I was helping them with creating a webinar. This client, I was helping them with creating a completion challenge. This client, like, it was all over the place, and each person was doing a different thing, and there was a different process, and each process was custom. There was nothing clear. And then I kind of like would freeze up when I would go to sell another client because I didn't know how I was going to help them because everything was custom. I didn't have a clear model to follow and a clear journey to follow. But you got to select your clear journey and your clear process of how you want to help people. And then you build off of that. That makes sense? And if you already have a proven signature model and you've proven it with an unscalable model, you help people really get there. And you can use this workshop to create your circle if that's what you want to do. Again, we're going to create, kind of model out all the different tiers, and you can kind of pick which one you want to start with. Again, I'm going to tell you to start with the core because a lot of times we're all over the place and we need a simple system that works, period. And we need to prove it. So don't neglect the process. We want to skip steps, but when things don't work, and we make something, we have to recreate many times. I don't want you to have to remake everything because this is something this is actually interesting because there's a lot of clients where I didn't have them go through these steps because I was doing custom stuff. So I was just kind of making it up as I go. Let's be honest. I was making stuff up as I go. And so they would create, like, even take Drew, which is one of my favorite clients. He in 2023, he did 300K in profit with he has a scalable community, and he has all the tiers, but 300K in profit with all the tiers built out. But when we started with the community. Like, he already had some one-on-one stuff and he had kind of a process and kind of figured it out. But he started with a community and he created all his courses and took all the time to do that, which takes a lot of time, by the way. He took all the time to do that. And then we delivered it. And then he realized all these things that didn't work because he hadn't tested it out with his core people in just frameworks in the most simple way. He hadn't tested it out. So he had to literally go through and redo all of them before he started promoting again, which just is not a fun way to do things. So again, if we do it in order, then we're going to, in the right order, then we're going to, like, these things will be created as we go along because we'll have the right model. Like this right here, for instance, everything that I'm teaching in this workshop has come because I've walked a lot of people through it and they already know how to do it. That makes sense? So that's what we want to do. We don't want to skip steps. And remember, Rome wasn't built in a day, but they were laying bricks every hour. You don't have to build everything you want today, just lay a brick. And that's the goal. If we lay bricks consistently, we'll go from the core to the circle, to the community, to the crowd, and we'll have a business that will be incredible in a year or 2 years from now. Okay, so welcome to the video on profitability. And this is what we're going to do. And our goal is, because now that you kind of know the process, you know where you want to go. Our goal is to take our idea, our offer idea, and see if it's profitable, and then cover the most profitable one that we have within us. Because there's ones that will work better according to what we're created for, and ones that won't work as well. So how do we create something profitable? So, because from the get-go, if we're starting from a faulty foundation, then it's going to be really hard to build. So our foundation is the idea. And so we need to figure out what is that idea that is going to be the most profitable for you according to the things that you bring to the marketplace, according to your calling, to your passion, so that you can actually build a core, that there's something that people want to pay for and they want your help with. Because if you don't have that solid foundation, here's what's going to happen. Most build an offer, there's two things that usually happen that I see a lot, is they build what they feel they want to build, but nobody wants it. It's not a problem people want it solved. It's just a good idea. Like, an example of this is these people that I met one time in a conference, and they had this cool, what they thought was a cool idea, and it sounded cool, but I was like, there's nobody going to buy that because it's not enough of a the profitability index is pretty low. And what they had is they had these physical little items where it was like a counter, And so what you would do is you put this item, let's say you wanted to go running a lot and you had a goal and you want to make a habit of running. So you put this counter by your shoes. And so every time you pick up your running shoes to go running, you click the counters to say, hey, I ran. And so it would keep track of how many times you ran. So you could track how much times you actually ran and all these different things. Sounds cool, but it's too complex. Like nobody's going to take the time to actually do this. Nobody wants it. So it was a cool idea, a good idea, but nobody wanted it. And so there's, again, I see this in a lot of in our circles as believers, is where we want, oh, I just want to help people have a better life. I mean, yes, cool, awesome, me too. But to help them have a better life, you want to actually connect with something they're really dealing with and struggling with. If not, nobody wants it. If nobody wants it, we can't help them. So we need to connect with what people really want and who actually wants it. So that's the first problem that a lot of people have. The second way that a lot of people do it is they chase opportunities, which means they create what they know will sell the easiest. Like right now, AI is a big thing. Now, if you're not an expert in AI, but you're just like, oh, it's an opportunity, I should create something AI just so I can sell it, then you might make some money, but because you're not called to AI and it doesn't resonate with who you are as a person, you might hate it. And if you hate it, then that sucks. That sucks building a business that you don't like. But I see a lot of people do this as well, where they chase an opportunity and they end up building a business that they don't like. So what we want to do, we want to put these together where it's the most aligned with who are calling, and it's also something people want at the core. Yeah, and like Greg said, yeah, and before AI, it was crypto. Exactly. So here's how we're going to do this. Again, the way I set up these modules, it's literally my goal is for you to take action and take work. So I'm going to cover the module. I'm going to cover how to do this, how to walk through it, and how to think through it and the models behind it. But then you're going to have to go back through later and really dig into it for yourself to make sure you understand it. So like to kind of get your information in on this. First thing you want to do is you want to start with you. We look at where are you starting with? Like, what do you currently have? A profitable idea starts with what you can confidently help people with. Because a lot of times we have these ideas or we'll move to a certain thing, but we're not really confident in it. And if we're not confident in it, then we're not going to show up powerfully in it. Again, Jesus was fully 100% confident in who he was and what he was called to do and what he was bringing to the marketplace. And because of that confidence, he had the audacity to say the things he did and to do the things he did, even when people wanted to kill him, because he was so confident in it. So we want to find the things we're most confident in that can provide the greatest amount of breakthrough for people. So start with just your skills. Look at your skills. What are skills that you have that you can help others with? By the way, I went through this myself where I just wrote a list and I thought through it and I sat with God on these things because I want to know what's the thing I want it to really build, because I could do email marketing for companies, for just regular companies. I could do that. I've been able to do that. I could just focus on just building webinars. I could focus on, like, there's so many different things that I have been like skills that I've stacked up over my career. And there's so many different things I could help people with that I didn't know where to go. So I sat down and I took some time to just dream with God, to journal and dream with God. So this is, some of you will have to do that. Some of you already know what you want to do. You already have these ideas kind of down pat. But this is for you if you don't really know what you're going to do yet, or you need to clarify it a little bit. So you list the skills that you can help others confidently with, like writing copy. I could just do copywriting for people if I wanted to, creating webinars, designing transformational offers, doing emails. Like there's so many different things that I could do. Running ads, another one. Then list your experiences. So skills, experiences, which is kind of your experiences are the experiences that you've had of using your skills to help other people. So list out, okay, where have I used my skills to help others? Where it's the biggest, most repeatable results, where I know I could help other people. Okay, I've helped these people. I know I could do it again. Like help people create multiple over 10K with webinars, multiple people. I've helped people launch multiple different offers with 2K yearly mentorship communities being the most successful. Like I tried courses. I launched courses with people. Problem with courses, guess what happened? We sold a course and then we did webinars to fill the course, and we were doing like 15 grand a month. And all of a sudden the market shifted, ads became more expensive, and our ads stopped working. And so all of a sudden, and now we were back at zero because we had no recurring revenue. We had nothing on the back end to sell people. It was just this one standalone course. So that was a problem. But anyway, I looked through different models. I helped people with different things. And then I took all those things that I wanted to do and I looked at, okay, what do I feel most uniquely, what am I most uniquely positioned and I have a calling toward to solve? What do I feel best about? And so I selected one. And for me, it was creating communities. It was creating things that I have a calling, helping people share their message in a way that transform lives. That's my calling. And so that's how do I do that? By creating communities, helping people create incredible communities and transformational offers that transform lives. That's my mission. So, but it took a while for me to get there and to figure out what I wanted to build. So you may have to think through some of this stuff. But once you know this, once you start with you, now you want to pick out who you want to help specifically. Not specifically, but like the general overall, the marketplace. Because there's 4 core markets in the world that you kind of want to focus on, that you want to solve problems for. And you want to identify which of these, like your skills, knowing what you're uniquely positioned for, knowing your experiences, what marketplace can you help the most? Because and many try to do many different ones and it doesn't really work. So you want to select one main marketplace. Like for instance, health, the 4 main ones are health, wealth, relationships, and happiness. So select the main market. That's the main market. Then within the main market, you want to choose your sub-market. And then your sub-market is the people within that main market that you have the most compassion for and you can help the most. And as you do this, by the way, this is a thing that I did for myself, is I sat down again. For me, a lot of this processing and a lot of the ways that I process, and I recommend you do the same, is I sat down, I took out a notepad, and I just wrote out what I was feeling, what I was thinking, and I asked God for advice. So I would sit down and I was like, Lord, who should I help? Who am I specifically designed to help? And who can I help the most? And what marketplace? And what's the sub market? Now, here's the thing that's interesting about the happiness spirituality marketplace, by the way. A lot of you guys have like, because this is a lot of people that I have and again, a lot of believers, they want to help people with happiness and spirituality, or better connection with God, different things like that. However, a lot of times it's not the happiness market that they're in. They might be more in the relationship market or the wealth market or the health market. And what I mean by that is this, like there's this one guy I'm working with who he helps men kind of like own their masculinity and become better men and happier. But he does that through the relationship market because his goal is to help men. Like his main thing is to help restore people's relationships, men restore their relationships with their wives, to become the man that their wife needs. And so that's kind of like his positioning in the marketplace. So while he kind of helps people spiritually, his positioning is he's dealing with a real issue in relationships and he's helping people with relationships. So as you kind of think this through, like think about those things, because if you're just like, well, I help people live a better life, I help people connect better with God. Okay, and is it why do you help them do that? Dig deeper, because if you're helping people connect better with God because you want them to be able to show up better for their children, then that's a relationship market that you're going into. But your process of helping them is through this market. So I want you to kind of get clear on that. Um, Again, if you take care of a mindset issue that's keeping people back, it may not necessarily be a happiness spirituality marketplace. For example, if you're drawn to help business people with their spirituality, then your market would most likely be wealth, not general happiness, because you might be helping business people get their mindset right. And so your main market would be under wealth, but then the sub market might be specific type of entrepreneurs, or entrepreneurs could be your sub market. Again, we want to get general here. We're going to go deeper in the next section. So here's the examples. Like your main market, if you're somebody that helps people with health and wellness and stuff like that, then your main market would be health. But your sub market might be you specifically want to help moms. So within that so you want to help moms be healthy. And again, this is kind of the general ideas. We'll get deeper, we'll get it more clear in the next section. Our main market, if it's wealth, then your sub-market might be online creators like coaches, consultants, and influencers who use who share messages online. Like that might be your sub-market. Like again, I could have gone a different route where my goal was in the wealth market, but it was for traditional businesses who have some stuff on have an online website and they get leads online, which is a different kind of market, right? So you want to kind of just like, okay, which market do I want to choose? And which market is that? Once you know your market, so again, you start with you, look at what you have, you look at the market, kind of get clear. Okay, this is kind of the person I want. Again, you're just kind of getting clear. We're walking through this, we're thinking through it, we're seeing what we relate with and what we don't. Then we want to define our profitable idea. And this is the criteria we want to kind of think through. It must be a problem you can provide that also energizes you. Again, if it doesn't energize you, if you don't get excited, like for me, I love doing this right here. Like I love having conversations with people. I love digging into, okay, what's your message? What's your offer? What are you hoping to, what problem are you solving? I love helping people think through their marketing. I love it. It energizes me. I love the strategy element of it. I love the teaching element of it. I love the one-on-one interaction of it. So like this is a problem that I know that energizes me. Now, if I would have gone into doing emails for corporate businesses, it would not have energized me because I'm like, oh, shoot, now I got to go write all these emails. And like, yeah, I love to write, but I love to write for myself. It doesn't energize me. So it needs to be a problem that you can solve that also energizes you. That's key. It must be a problem that people are irrationally passionate about solving, not just a good idea. Again, we mentioned this earlier, but you want people who really want their problem solved. Because if you're looking at like for moms, if they're new moms, they were just pregnant and they started gaining weight because of pregnancy, then they're probably they're heavier than they used to be before pregnancy, and they're probably like don't feel right in their bodies, and so they want to solve that problem. So they're kind of irrationally passionate, like I got to get back in shape like was before I was pregnant. Like that's something that's a real problem that they're very passionate about solving, and they'll do whatever it takes to try to solve it. They're willing to do what it takes to try to solve it. Because if people aren't willing to do what it takes to try to solve it, then they won't. Like it's really hard to help people if they don't want to do it. So you must be a problem that people want solved now and will be for years, not a disappearing market. For example, AI is hot right now. So if you are actually energized by AI and you're good with it, you're skilled with it, and you want to help people do stuff with AI, then maybe it might be a market for you to go into, right? Because it's hot right now and it's going to stay around for a long time. But here's the thing, newspapers, on the other hand, newspaper advertising, if you're like, oh, I'm great at advertising via newspaper, it's probably not going to be the best market to go into because that's on the decline year after year. So you don't want to go into a declining market. So you look at, again, this is strategic. You want to look at what problems can you solve, what marketplace do you want to join, what do you want to help people with that's actually going to stick around for a while. Like I know there's going to be a long, like building like actually authentic transformational online communities and programs is going to be around for a long time. The marketplace is growing. It's not going to go away anytime soon. It must be a result that the right people will gladly pay a premium for. If there's nobody willing to pay a premium for it, like, and that's again, I say this because if we're looking at profitable ideas, then I say this. Now, some of you might not need, like, you might be in the wrong place where you're actually supposed to create a ministry and not a business. But we're talking about a business here. And if you're supposed to do that, which means you got to find people that are willing to pay a high price. Now, this is something to even think about for Jesus and his disciples. This is the thing I think about is if you look at the disciples, the 12, they had to give up their work, which was their income, and walk with Jesus for 3 years. They gladly paid a premium to learn how the kingdom of heaven works and to learn from Jesus. So it's like they were willing to do it. So this is kind of the thing that you want to think about is like, are there people that are willing to pay for this? And the way to look at it is to look at the market. Are people paying for it now? Are people not paying for it? Are they paying good amount of money? Okay, why are they paying good amount of money? Again, if we approach it with curiosity, then we can learn a lot of these things. It must be an audience that is easy to get in front of the people who have a problem, aka there are groups of these people online. So if you go on Facebook and you search for your audience, Are there a lot of people in that audience? Are there a lot of groups? If there's groups, then it means yes, people are passionate about this. They're going to show up for it. They're going to do some things. So ultimately, this is what I want you to get to is I'm going to help this submarket, whatever the submarket is, with this profitable idea. I'm going to help, example, I'm going to help coaches in the wealth market make more consistent revenue. Or I'm going to help professionals in the health market, professional entrepreneurs, or should be entrepreneurs or something. I'm going to help entrepreneurs in the health market lose weight, or I'm going to help moms in the health market lose weight. Or I'm going to help new moms in the health market lose weight. Whatever it may be, like you're just kind of like, again, we're just putting something down. Doesn't need to be perfect. This may change over time, but you want to put something down. Like, what are you going to help? And then finally, the last section of this, last part of this is you want to actually go and check out your competition and see, okay, who else is serving my market and how are they serving the market? Because if you know how other people are serving it, you can learn from it and say, okay, these people are being served in this way, they're being served in this way. All this stuff is going on in the marketplace, and we want to have a grasp on what's going on in our marketplace so we can serve them well. Because if we know the marketplace, we know the problem we want to solve, we know the core idea of what we want to help people with, then it's like, okay, how can we most help people that in this marketplace? Like what's needed, what's not needed, what are people selling already? What's if it's profitable already, if other people are selling it, if there's no competition, it's probably a market to stay away from because chances are it's not if people tried to sell it before and it didn't sell, which means it might be a market to stay away from. Or if it is like if you have a lot of competition and it's healthy competition, it's like, okay, this is somewhere I can go into and I can make my mark in it by finding a different way to approach this, which again, we're going to look at how to do that. But right now, our goal is just curiosity. Who is the competition? Make a list of the competition. Except, for example, there's a guy that does online marketing that I followed for some time. I don't agree with a lot of his stuff, but some of his core stuff is actually really good. And his name is Dan Henry. And what's their method of solving the problem? Well, the way he helps his marketplace solve the problem is he tells them to create high ticket offer and sell them via webinars and sales calls, which is similar, but he like to what I would teach in some ways, but it's not as aligned. Then how have they packaged their solution? Well, he right now he sells a low ticket membership with tons of courses inside. People get really overwhelmed, and even though and it's just more low ticket, and just the goal is his goal honestly was just to make money with it, which is sad, but whatever. And then what's their price point? It's 97. Like his price point is $97 a month. And what are some of their language? Well, he says this: if we could help you get just one client per month for $97 a month, would you take that offer? So his whole goal is to help people get one client per month in exchange for their $97. So that's a good, like I like his language. One is focused on getting clients. Okay, cool. That's cool. Any other notes? He uses a lot of more bro marketing approach instead of relationship based approach, which I don't like. So I I like relationship based, authentic stuff, right? So again, you're just taking some time to think through what are 3 to 5 different people, your competition, what are they doing? How are they doing it? And just being curious and seeing what you can learn about your marketplace and how other people are solving it. Again, if nobody else is trying to solve the same problem, then it might not be a market that's profitable and that you want to get into right now. Because again, our goal is to build something that's sustainable, that's profitable, that's long term, that's going to be really good in the long term. So again, our goal is to find a real painful problem that we're uniquely positioned to solve. It's starting and in the starting point of an offer that you can consistently sell to others. Does it make sense kind of how I approach this? Because again, I've talked with a lot of people who have a lot of like, oh, I want to do this, and they're so caught up, and they may like they heard from God where they're like, yes, I know I need to do this and want to do this, but then they haven't followed wisdom in it, where the thing that they want to offer is something nobody else is offering and nobody wants. So I'm like, well, I mean, that's a tough one because it's really I've never seen anybody be profitable with that. Maybe you're here to make something new, but that's going to be really tough. So my goal is to stack the deck in your favor so we can actually create something that's truly good. Again, going back to this is what our goal. Okay, so welcome to this section. And in this section, our goal is to actually figure out the exact person that we want to solve our problem and our idea. Like once we have a profitable idea, we need to know who specifically we're going to solve it for, and a little bit, we need to know more about that person. Because only way to serve people is to know the person that we're serving. Otherwise, we can't serve them well. It's strategic goodness as a whole. We're identifying where that person's at. And so as a whole, where's the person at in your marketplace that you're specifically called to serve? Now, a question that, like, I heard the story one time where this guy was asked, this advertising genius was asked, which he would rather have, the best product, the best location, or a hungry market. And his explanation was this, like, you want a hungry market. Because even if you don't have the best product, but you have a hungry market that really wants and desires what you have to offer, then they're going to buy. Or even if you don't have the best location, but you have a hungry market, they're going to buy. See, it's not the best products that get the most sales. It's the products that are positioned and connect with somebody that really wants the solution. So the most important thing is a hungry market, not a brilliant burger. Gary Halbert. And so, like, that's what we want to identify as who in our market is the most hungry. To make it way easier to sell your offer, you need to find the hungriest market within your submarket for the problem you're solving. Then it's all about getting to know that market so well that they feel like you're speaking to the depth of their soul. The goal is to get clear on the one avatar you want to target with your marketing. Most are too broad in their targeting, and this is the big thing that I see, especially believers do, is they're like, whoa, I can help everybody. Well, everybody needs this. I mean, yes, everybody needs it. But who are you going to target? Who are you going to talk to? Because if you talk to everybody, you're talking to nobody. But if you talk to one person, then that person's going to raise their head. Like if I'm walking down the street and I say, hey, because in the crowd of hundreds of people, nobody's going to really look at me, or they might glance at me and not know it's for them, right? But if I am walking in a crowd of people and I'm speaking to my brother and say, my brother's name is Jalen, I say, hey, Jalen, then instantly Jalen's going to look because I'm talking to him. He's going to pay attention. So that's the idea. And this is something you have to understand. Even Jesus targeted the most hungry market. Specifically, he was there for the Jews. Like when a Gentile woman came up to him and said, hey, basically, can you help me? And Jesus is like, no, I'm here for the Jews, essentially. And then she's like, well, even the dogs get scraps from their master's table. He's like, okay, I'll help you. So he ended up helping her. But he was called to the Jews. But even more specifically, who did Jesus hang out with a lot? The sinners, what people classified as the sinners. It was the people that needed his help the most. They were the most hungry to get free from the tyranny of the Pharisees. They were the most hungry market. Like they were the ones with the most problems. And he was the one, like, so he went to the hungry market, to the Jewish sinners. Like he hung out with sinners. Like everybody judged him for hanging out with sinners. Why? Because they were the most hungry market that people needed, that needed help, that needed his help. So you must choose the hungry market. And so that's the first thing. We want to choose our dream client, then want to get to know them. So our goal is to determine all the different types of people in our submarket that we can help and narrowing it down to the one person we're going to focus on helping. Take for instance, for me, like I help people build online communities, like not just communities, I can help them build webinars, I can do all this different stuff. But with my specific model of building online communities successfully from a place of authenticity, from a place of alignment and transformation, the people that I can help is very vast. I could help, for example, and this is what you want to do first. You want to list all the different groups that you can help. That's the first thing you want to do. I could help the course creator. Maybe they've had a successful launch when they first launched their course, but now it's fizzled out because they don't have good marketing. I could help them take their course, put it into a community, and build a community. I could help that person. And my stuff works for them. So I could say, okay, my stuff works for that person. I could help the one-on-one coach or consultant who's stuck in one-on-one and they're tired of the one-on-one and they want to get, like, they're tied down to phone calls every day, all day long, and they're tired of it and they want to do something better. Like they want something more scalable that brings about their best. I could talk to that person. Again, my process works for that person. I could talk to, like, again, there's so many different people that, like, I could talk to the influencer. This is somebody I didn't put down here. But I could talk to the influencer, and the influencer is the person who maybe has a YouTube channel that's grown to X amount. but they're not profitable. They're not making money with it, because then I could help them make it profitable by creating an online community and making it work for them. I could do that, right? But then even more specifically, like if I look at the marketplace, and this is something I want you to consider, is you want to consider these different things. You want to consider people with a specific occupation. Like maybe you help people, instead of just help selling weight loss, you might help people that are busy, specifically CEOs, or you might help people that are solo entrepreneurs. I help solo entrepreneurs lose weight. Or like, again, the more targeted you get, the better it's going to be. So look at occupation as a certain occupation that people have. Write it down. It might be a very specific occupation that people have. The more specific you get, the more money you'll make, because people will say, "Oh, you're speaking to me." And so therefore you become a specialist instead of a generalist. So you want to become a specialist. I help very specifically this group of people. But again, write down all the different people that you could help. Geography. Is there people in a certain target market that you want to help? Like, for instance, I help people in Santa Clarita. Santa Clarita has 18 different Whole Foods. So I help people who shop at Whole Foods in Santa Clarita. Like, that's a specific market. But you know what I mean? But then you could like help those people figure out how to eat more healthier with Whole Foods, lose weight with it, and stuff like that. But it's a very specific market, and that'd be more in-person market. But is there a certain location? Is there a specific identity where people really relate with? Where they're like, you could sell weight loss for vegans, or for CrossFitters, or for like somebody like Republicans or Democrats, which whatever. Like there's a certain identity of people that would benefit and that you relate with. Again, this is what I end up doing, is a spirit led. This is another person I can help. I can help the spirit led creator, which is the one-on-one, like the spirit led one-on-one coach and consultant, kingdom minded one-on-one coach and consultant who's out there trying to make a living, but it's not going so well. So again, where now I've honed into a very specific market, right? And when I determine the ones that fit the following criteria the most, are are most feeling the pain of the problem and are hungry for a solution. Again, pain is a big thing. Like if there's people that you want to help, but they're not experiencing a pain, they're gonna like they're gonna have a hard time choosing to work with you, because they're not experiencing the pain of their problem. So they must be feeling the pain. They must be underserved in the marketplace and overlooked by others. Like again, great examples of spirit-led coach or creator, consultant. Why? Because there's a lot of stuff in the marketplace that are spiritual, like a spiritual soul-led kind of marketing process and stuff like that. But a lot of it is new age, right? And so or there's a lot of new age stuff, but then there's a lot of kingdom stuff where they package it as kingdom. They put the kingdom name in front of it, but then it's just the same old stuff that everybody else is saying. It's a bro marketing packaged as kingdom. And so the actual spirit led, the people that want to be led by a compassion and by the spirit in their marketing, is kind of an underserved market. Like there's not many people really truly serving these people, because again, it's either new age or it's kingdom. It says kingdom, but it's then just the same stuff as everybody else. It must be people that you have the most compassion for. And these are people I relate with the most. They're people I have the most compassion for. They're easiest to get the results quickly. If somebody's already a one-on-one coach, then I know that they're good at what they do. And I can, with very quickly, we can create something that's going to work really well for them, right? Are these get results quickly, are willing to pay you for your solution? And if they're already one-on-one coach and a lot of them are making some revenue, so they already have some revenue coming in, so they're willing to pay for the solution because they know the pain of just doing one-on-one and being stuck in one-on-one and having inconsistent revenue and all these different things, or they know how that is, so they're willing to pay for it. Again, think the disciples, they paid a lot to be with Jesus. It cost them their income, cost them their time with their family, a lot of stuff that it cost them to walk with Jesus like they did for 3 years. Again, your goal is to kind of determine what are different ways you could do this, different people you are drawn to, and determine, are you supposed to do it for spiritual people or not? Like some of you are supposed to help a marketplace that isn't spiritual, but then you kind of bring in some of that spiritual stuff. You're a little bit undercover. Others of you are supposed to actually lead with that. But you think through, again, you're just kind of brainstorming a lot of these things out of the different people you can help, and then you're selecting one. And again, like one thing I didn't cover here, but somebody that has, is there a group of people that you who have just had a certain life experience that would benefit? For example, could help pregnant women stay in shape during pregnancy for a better and easier pregnancy. There's actually one client that helps people do that. But that's kind of like the ideas. You want to kind of think through these things and figure out who are the different people in my sub market I can help, then who am I actually going to help? And my person is this person. Again, the key is to be most clear, like spirit-led one-on-one coaches. Why? They're underserved. Most spiritual based stuff is new age. And then you have those in the market of kingdom, but follow a model that looks no different than the world. So that's a market that I can really focus in and help. Now, eventually, as you grow, you might branch into other different markets and start working with other different markets. Or as you might, even in this section, you might say, okay, there are 3 different people. I don't know which one to pick. Cool. Let's start with one of those. And then later we can, like, month from now, we can target the different one, start having conversations with those people and see what happens, what clicks more, or maybe, yeah. And so eventually you get clarity. Again, action precedes clarity. The key is just to get started. But once you decide, okay, this is going to be my core audience, this is the people I want to help. Next thing I want to do is want to actually kind of identify who they are. Like, what is their gender? Clarify a little bit of their demographics with their gender, their age, what income do they have? Where do they live right now? What's their lifestyle like? What's going on? Like, we can ask some questions like that and just get clear on who they are. But then third thing we want to do is we want to dig deeper into the audience because we want to fully understand them. And this is the way I like to look at it. See, your audience is they're over here, they're experiencing this problem, they're experiencing these issues, but they want to be over on this side. But there's a gap there. There's stuff here that's keeping them from doing that. And so they have a current reality. And so I want you to think about this and each aspect of this and just brainstorm, like, where are these people at? The current reality, which there's tangible problems that they have, there's internal problems, like the tangible problem, let's say, again, the one-on-one coach or consultant. What are some tangible problems they're having? Well, a lot of them are having inconsistent revenue, where they're selling something one month and then because they don't have a clear offer, they're not selling it again for another couple months, and then the revenue is constantly going up and down. But then they all of a sudden they launch something, they have a big breakout month and do like 15, 20 grand, and then the next month they do 2 grand. And they're like, it's very inconsistent. Or that's one problem they could have. Another problem they could have is they are constantly have to do all these calls and they regret, like they look at their calendar and they're like, oh man, I got 3 calls a day and I just don't want to take these calls because I don't even know if they're worth it, like because they haven't packaged things right. And so there's tangible problems and there's feelings that they have within those problems. So there's the tangible problems and then there's internal problems. And internal problems is the feelings within, where they're frustrated. They're like, why does it work for everybody else but it doesn't work for me? Like they're anxious, like what am I going to do if I can't pay the bills? They're scared because they're like, whoa, what happens if I have to go get another job? I don't want to go get another job. What are people going to say? Like there's a mental state that they're in. Again, our goal here is to use empathy to dig into where people are at. So where are they currently at? Then what's the gap? And we want to define the gap. And the gap is the thing that's keeping them stuck in their current reality and keeping them from their future. And it can be tangible stuff that they're dealing with. A lot of this mindset stuff where it's like, well, I don't think I can I don't think I can do a webinar profitably. I don't think I can set up the tech. Like I get confused with the tech. So the tech's the thing keeping me stuck. Like there's all these different things that people might think that are keeping them stuck. A lot of it's false beliefs where they have a certain belief about something and that belief is keeping them stuck. Like a poverty mindset is keeping a lot of Christians stuck in poverty. And so it's like, that's the gap. So we want to identify what's the gap. What are the things, the tangible things keeping them stuck? What is the internal, the false beliefs keeping them stuck? Like like actually define it. Then the future state. What do they want to get to? What do they really want in that future state? What are their desires? What are their tangible desires? Well, I want to be able to have a better place to live. I want to be able to XYZ. Again, you want to do it according to the marketplace and the problem that you're solving, but you're looking at who are these people? The more you know them, the better you can market to them. the better offer you can create. Now, here's some questions that I have that will help you kind of identify each of these things. I'm not going to go through these questions because this is something you can do later. But again, you're just looking at the current state, what they're facing now, trying to identify what those things are, and making a list. And just brainstorming. You're brainstorming. Uh, the gap. You're looking at what the gap is. So what are things they try to do? What are things they think they need to do? What are other people telling them they need to do? What is out of alignment for them? What's mindsets are keeping them stuck? What do they think is out of their control that's keeping them stuck? What do they think? What are things again, like a weight loss thing is like, what outside of their control do they think is keeping them from success? A lot of people will say, well, my genes, I just have bad genes, like everybody in my family's fat. And so they might have a bad belief about that. But you want to understand those things so you can address them in your marketing and create an offer that helps them break through those things. Then the future state, what you want to help them get to, like what's going to increase in their lives, what's going to decrease, what do they desire most? And the more you get clear on these things for your specific audience, the more you can build something that matters. Then finally, after you kind of understand your audience, we determine who the audience is. We took some time to dig deep into understanding them. Then finally, we want to understand, okay, what are the consequences if they don't change? Because a lot of people, again, this is a typical thing in life. People grow up in the same area, they're born in the same one place, they stay in that same place, that same town their whole life, and they don't do anything. Because they don't do anything, they keep the same cycles that previous generations had, they keep them going. Or even in their own lives, they keep these same negative cycles going. And so they don't change. And so we want to understand, okay, if they don't change, if they don't like in the health, like if they don't change the way they're doing stuff, what's going to happen for them? Like, well, let's be honest, like at the extreme, like people that don't take care of their health, they have heart attacks. There's a lot of health issues that happen. Like they die quicker. Like that's a real painful problem. Those are real consequences, right? So we want to identify what are the consequences that happen if people do not take care of their problem. What's the real cost in the next year? When I look at it in the next year, like they might, like again, for example of building businesses and stuff, they might miss out on their children's activities, they might go broke, people not getting the help that they need. In the next 5 years, they could go out of business, work for somebody else, get a real job. In the next 10 years, they might not have the finance to provide for a better life, can't afford kids' college. Like there's a lot of real consequences that happen if people don't build the thing they're created to build. Again, for you specifically in your marketplace, for the thing that you're solving, like if it's health, then what can happen the next year if they don't do it? Well, they stop feeling comfortable in their own skin. They hate going to the beach. They're gonna hate going to on vacation because they don't feel comfortable on the beach. They That's the kind of stuff that can happen the next year. In the next 5 years, they're gonna have more aches and pains. Because they're not taking care of their body. Their risk of health issues is going to increase. Like there's stuff that can happen the next 5 years that don't take care of their health, right? The next 10 years, they're not like, again, next 10 years, they could get a disease of some sort. They could have less energy and not be able to show up as well for their children, and not be able to play with their children, not be able to, like, there's so many different things. And so you want to just get clear on what are the consequences of them not taking action and solving their problem. Make sense? So the more you understand your dream client and hone in on them, the better your marketing will become and easier it will be to demand a higher price. If you aren't sure, simply start by picking one. If you start having conversations with those people and they don't end up buying, or like you don't connect with them, or things don't work out, then you can learn from it and you may need to shift, and that's all right. But that's what we're learning is like, who can we actually serve that wants our help? That we can serve at a high level, that's hungry for it. Because if people aren't hungry for it, again, a lot of people try to help people that don't want their help. So if you go somewhere and you try to convince people who their whole family was meat eating people, you try to convince them to go vegan, like it's not going to work. Like you're in the wrong market. They're not hungry. Those people aren't hungry for it. Find the people that have a reason to go vegan, like a real problem that they're struggling with that going vegan would help them. You know what I mean? So it's like that's the thing. You want to find the hungry market because those are the people you can help the most that will actually take the most of what you have to say. Again, Jesus he went into a very hungry market that was going through, the Jews were going through a lot right then in a specific time frame. So it's timely. It's people like that you're positioned to help, that you can help the most. Okay, welcome to this section, section number 3. Because now that we know kind of our profitable idea, we know the person we're going to serve that's very targeted. Now we want to identify the positioning that we want to have in the marketplace, because the positioning is how your marketplace perceives you. So they look at you and they perceive you as not being able to help them, or like a lot of times, this is the problem that a lot of people have, is they go into a marketplace and they say the exact same thing as everybody else, and so nobody pays attention. So it loses its weight. Because for instance, if you, again, you can see this in the marketplace if you look at all the different fad diets that are coming and going. Like if you go join a fad diet that is on its last legs, then your positioning, everybody's like, well, I heard that before. It doesn't work. I've tried that before. It doesn't work, right? Because it's not something fresh and new. And so we want to identify something that's fresh and new and position what we have to offer as something fresh and new. And there's ways to do that. Otherwise, you're not going to stand out. And you're going to, no matter how hard you try, people won't pay attention to your stuff if your positioning is off. Again, this is one of the main problems that I see people dealing with is one, especially believers, they try to help too many people. And number two, their positioning is no different than anybody else's. And so nobody pays attention. Again, like Jesus came speaking the kingdom of heaven, which is a new concept or a fresh idea. It was an old concept, but it was a fresh idea for specifically for the Jews, where he said the kingdom of heaven is at hand. Like it was like, really? I want to know more about this kingdom of heaven that's at hand. I didn't like it's available. Like, really? Like, show me more. Like his positioning was to a specific people for a specific purpose, and it set him apart. And this is a big deal. If the reason most marketing doesn't work is because it's the same ideas said in the same people. Therefore, nobody pays attention. People want something new and fresh. By giving them something new and fresh that's different from what they're used to, you create positioning that people are attracted to. Now, I do this a lot through what I call the problem culprit solution framework, where the problem is this is the main problem that you solve. You identify, okay, this is the main problem I'm going to solve. You identify what that problem is. The culprit is the thing that people think they need to do to solve their problem. It's basically the old way of doing things. And the solution is the new opportunity that you're presenting to actually solve the problem. And if you position it like this, then it tends to work pretty well. Again, a great example is Jesus. Who did he help? Again, who did we decide it was the hungry market? It was the Jewish people, but more than the Jewish people, that was like the sub-market. More than the Jewish people, it was the sinners. It was the people who were in bondage to sin and they were struggling and they were tired of the status quo. They were tired of the Pharisees. Like that's who he was targeting. And then the problem was bondage to sin and disease, right? That was the main problem that he came to fix. Like, yeah, he said the Son of Man came to, like, he came to fix the bondages that people were in, set the captives free and stuff. So that's the problem. The old way of doing things was the way of the Pharisees, which was yearly sacrifices and so on and so forth, which will cleanse you from your sin for a year, but then you have to do it every year and so on and so forth. Like the whole the Pharisee system, the sacrificial system, that whole thing that was created. Like he went into a marketplace that was this old way of doing things, and he shared a new way to do it. What's the solution? And this is what he told people to do: is repent, which is to change the way you think, and engage with the kingdom of heaven. If you do that, you'll actually get freedom from the bondage of sin and disease. You'll be set free from being a captive and in bondage. Because so in his marketing, and guess what he did? He was constantly in his marketing, he was calling out the way of the Pharisees. Don't be like the Pharisees, because this doesn't work. That's the old way. Now we want to give you a new way. Another thing he did is he's calling out this old way of thinking of like, you've heard it said, an eye for an eye and a tooth for a tooth, but I tell you, love your enemies and pray for those who persecute you. So it's like that's Jesus's marketing was dead on. He brought a fresh idea to a people that needed a fresh idea. He needed something new. We're caught in an old way of doing things that wasn't working. So in that same way, you want to position what you do as something new. Otherwise, if it's not positioned as something new, you're going to, no matter how much you do and try to help people, it's not going to, like, people won't pay attention. because it's not positioned as solving their problem, or it's positioned in the same way as everybody else's, and all of a sudden it doesn't work. So how do we do this? Number one, let's start with clarifying our problem. See, most people try to help people with a good idea instead of solving a real problem. We mentioned this earlier. But you want to determine the real problem you solve, up to 1 to 3, but you want to try to find one. Again, it must be painful. People must be looking for a solution. It must be timely. It must be a problem that people have right now that they want to solve now. And it must be valuable, big enough for people to pay a lot of attention. Again, in the previous section, we kind of looked at the core, the tangible problems that people are having. So now you're just kind of identifying which one it is. And this is examples in the different marketplaces. So let's say you're in the wealth marketplace and helping coaches. Submarket would be coaches and consultants, maybe. And their problem is that they are identifying as my revenue is inconsistent. So their problem could be inconsistent revenue. So that might be the main problem that I choose to solve, is inconsistent revenue. Not, again, you want to have a problem, not a desire. You want to just talk about a desire, because a desire would be, I want to have monthly recurring revenue. That's not a real problem. That's not a painful problem. The painful problem is waking up 1 month with 15 grand in sales and being all excited, and then waking up the next 3 months with 2 grand in sales each month. And you're like, oh man, this isn't going to work. And then that sucks. That's a real problem. So, and I've experienced that problem myself because I didn't have a good solution. I didn't have a good offer, right? So so I understand the problem deeply because I've experienced it. So a lot of times you want to find the problem that you've experienced that you can call out in the marketplace, that you can address in the marketplace that people are experiencing. Again, in the health one, the real problem is like somebody might have is like, I gained 20 pounds over the last year after starting my business because I was so focused on business. I ended up gaining 20 pounds because I didn't take care of my health. And now I don't really know what to do with it because I'm still busy and I don't know, like, I don't want to do all these other things, right? Not the goal is like, again, you want to have a problem, not just a good idea where it's like, or a desire where it's like, I want to lose weight. And the problem is they actually gained 20 pounds after starting their business. Relationship wise, a problem could be my wife and I are constantly fighting. I'm afraid she's going to leave. So it's like, whoa, that's a real problem. It's not, I want to have a better relationship with my wife, which is it's a good idea. It's a desire, but it's not a painful problem. Again, I want you guys to get this. The problem must be painful. So what is that core problem that you're going to solve? Happiness. I hate getting out of bed in the morning to go to work. I want my life to have more purpose. Again, people are like, talk about purpose, but purpose, just if I go into a marketplace and I start talking about purpose, nobody's going to pay attention. Why? Because everybody talks about purpose. And so purpose has lost its meaning. It's become something out there that doesn't really hold any weight. But if I'd say, hey, do you wake up in the morning and you hate waking up in the morning going to work? You know there has to be something better for you. Like that's a real problem. That makes sense? So instead of trying to sell purpose, you're connecting with real painful problems that people have. Again, this is a big, big thing. So what is your main problem that you solve? The painful, more painful, the better, because people want to have it solved. What is that? Let's clarify the problem. Now I want to clarify the culprit. And this is fun. I enjoy this process because when we understand, when we go through this, we start having these aha moments of like, oh, that's what's happening. This is how you identify your culprit. The easiest way to define your culprit is to determine what your dream client thinks the root of their problem is and how they think they should solve it. So we want to identify what are they actually thinking. So we want to think through it. When the dream client recognizes their problem, what do they think is causing the problem? Again, if somebody recognizes any of these problems, again, whatever problem it is that you say you're going to solve, when they recognize, oh, shoot, I have this problem, like this is a problem, then, for example, like a one-on-one coach whose problem is my revenue is inconsistent, when they recognize that, what are they thinking is causing the problem? They may think that the root of their problem is not having enough good leads. Man, if I could only, like, my problem is I don't have enough leads. That's what they may think their problem is, right? And so now I want to say, okay, second thing is, what do they think they need to do to solve that problem? Make a list of the different things that they might think. Like if somebody is having a revenue issue, they're probably going to think, oh man, if I just get more consistent leads, I just now have good leads consistently. That's all I need. Like that's my main problem. So I need to, well, to get through this, They may think they need to, okay, I need to DM more people. I need to start running ads. I need to get one of those companies that are promising leads. I need to start working with one of those companies. Like, what do they think they need to do? You want to identify what do, like, again, you can do this with weight loss, with anything that you're doing. Identify what's the problem. Like, for instance, if I've gained over 20 pounds over the last year after starting my business, what does this guy think he needs to do? He probably thinks he needs to start starving himself. It's like, man, if I just start starving myself, maybe I can lose weight, right? That's what he thinks he needs to do. Again, this is the idea. We want to identify in our market, what do they think they need to do to solve their problem? Because a lot of times this is, you want to hone into the main one or the group of them and call it out together. For example, like, and becomes your culprit. This becomes the old way of doing things. And what they think they should do, by the way, what they think the root problem is and what they think they should do is probably different from what they actually should do. Because a lot of people have this idea is like, hey, if I'm dealing with this, then my problem is this, and I need to deal with it this way. But they get it wrong because their real problem is something else that they didn't even think about because they didn't like, that's where you come in because you're the expert and you get to help them guide them through into a new solution. So again, like when I hone it in, a one-on-one coach's problem is my consistence of having inconsistent revenue. The old way of doing things that they think they need to do is chasing clients, and that sucks. So guess what? In ads, I could literally say in ads, are you tired of constantly chasing clients and trying to chase leads, but your income keeps going up and down every month and you're just tired of it? Well, here's what I got for you. See, I'm connecting with an old way of doing things that they think they need to do. Or another way, like, or I could even hone into it even more, where it's like, and you might have a list of some of these things, where I could say in an ad or something where I'm like, hey, do you think you just need to, like, if you could only just DM more people that you could get more leads, but you hate DMing people? I get it. You see, a lot of times we think we need to DM people because we need more leads, and therefore we get more leads, we can get more sales for our one-on-one coaching clients. But here's the thing I realized is there's this other way to do things. Again, this is what we're going to get into in a little bit. But you want to identify what is that old path, the old way of doing things that you want to call out in your marketplace. Again, Jesus did the Pharisees. Like people thought, well, I just need to sacrifice somebody, sacrifice a lamb, do these yearly sacrifices, and I'll be good. That's what they thought. But Jesus came and brought something different. So what they think they should do can usually be positioned as the culprit, the old way of doing things that we can call out in our marketing. The old path, culprit, I'll call out. So think about what your the culprit is and write it down. Now, 3, you want to determine your solution. See, alternative to the culprit, old way of doing things you're calling out, you want to provide a new opportunity to solve the problem that you know will be better for the people. So think through it. What do you know is the real root of the problem? See, they think they know the root. They think the root is, well, it's a leads problem, right? Again, using my example as above here. They think it's a leads problem. But what do I know is the real reason, the real thing that's stopping them? What is that real root of the problem? Well, I think the real root of the problem is they have a bad model. Real root is they have a model that makes them slaves to sales. The real root is they have a unscalable model where people don't stay. And if they had a better model, then it would solve their problem. I think that's the real root of the issue, right? So that's kind of what you're looking at. What's the real root of the problem? Then what's a new opportunity you're going to present to them to help them get what they want, to solve their problem for good? What is your advice for them? Again, in a lot of ways, you're acting like as if you're a doctor who's diagnosing the real root of the problem, saying, okay, you're looking at the symptoms, right? You're looking at the symptoms. You're saying, okay, well, the real root is because you're having this problem over here. And now you might think you need to go do this thing over here to solve this, but really what you need to do is you need to do this thing over here. That's kind of our marketing as in a nutshell. So what is that new opportunity? What is the advice that you're going to give people? For example, again, I'm going with the one-on-one coaches problem is my revenue is inconsistent, but I will tell them, and this is the advice I'm going to give them is, hey, here's what you need to do. You need to move away from this unscalable one-on-one model that has you a slave to sales and spending all your time with clients, and you need to build a tiered mentorship community instead. You need to package what you have into a tiered mentorship community because it's going to solve your problem for good. And they're like, oh, that makes sense. I get it. That makes so much, yeah, because that's true. Like that is the real problem. My model really kind of sucks. Like I have no way to scale it, and then I also always have to chase clients, and like that sucks. Yeah, it sucks. Well, I'm going to tell you, you don't need to do that. You can stop chasing clients and actually build something that people are attracted to, that more authentically shares your message and is more scalable, therefore more fun, and you can build recurring revenue from. How does that sound? Oh, that sounds so much better. Count me in, right? See, that's what we're doing is we're connecting with where they're really at and positioning our offer and presenting our offer in a way that, and our solution in a way that's like, oh, that makes sense. I get it. Again, this is a big key right here. This is not an improvement to what they've been doing or trying before, but it needs to be presented as a new way of doing things. Again, like there's people that may come to me that may know that their problem is their offer, but they just need somebody to remind them. Where I'm going to say, well, your problem is you don't have a clear offer and you're not presenting it well, and you need to have a good, simple offer that you can, with multiple tiers that you can scale. And this is how it looks like. And they're like, oh, yeah, that makes so much more sense. So even when people aren't the perfect people, because I'm sharing it as a new solution, instead of chasing clients and trying to get more leads with DMs and all these different things, here's what you do instead. You create a better model, then all that stuff becomes easier. And they're like, oh, that makes more sense because I'm positioning it that way. So you want to position it that way. Again, this is how to position your offer so that people are like, oh, that makes sense. People don't want improvements. They don't want to just improve things. They want something fresh because they've tried the improvements and it didn't work. And so in trying to convince people to do something they've already tried before is really, really hard. But presenting it as something new, even though it might be the same thing, but we're presenting it because we're meeting people where they're at. And if we take time to meet people with where they're at, we're going to take time to meet them in their bad mindsets and the things that they're thinking. And so we're going to connect to that way of thinking to give them something better. In a lot of ways, like there's a old adage out there where it's basically say, sell people what they want, give them what they need. And there is an element of truth to that because the simple reality, people don't really know what they need. They just know what they want. And they don't really know the answer to it. And so when we take time to really connect with people, then we're going to connect with what they really want, but then show them what they need right away. Like a lot of people will do a bait and switch where they just sell what the people want and then completely switch it and give them what they need. That's a bad way to do it. Like in the beginning, you want to introduce like, hey, this is what you want, but I think this is what you really need. And they're like, oh, that makes sense. That is what I need. You're right. But if we explain it well, then we're not doing a bait and switch. We're just leading people on a journey that's going to be beneficial for them. Again, this is not your offer. This is just a new way of doing things that will take them to their destination. Your offer is the packaging around this new opportunity to help them execute it with assurance and as quick as possible. So that, which is what we're going to create later. So what is your solution? What new solution, what new opportunity are you inviting people to? So you want to just kind of put this all together, clarify who it is that you're like, again, this is just a simple way to do it because you model it like this, then you have something like you want to create this, like everything we've done up to this point is to try to get to this point where it's one clear positioning thing that we can build everything we do off of. Our whole brand gets built off of this, by the way. And so every message, every word, everything that we do gets built off this. And again, you can play with this. So, but you choose one and you test it. And if we later decide, oh, we don't really like this part of it, we change it. That's all right. But write down, like, put it all together. Who is it that you help? Like, call them out. What's the problem that you help them solve? That's real painful. What's the culprit? The old way of doing things that they think they need to do. And what's the solution? The new way of doing things that you're going to present to them and tell them they need to do that's going to help them. It's going to be helpful for them. Again, here's different examples, like in the wealth market. Say you're in the wealth market. Who, again, one-on-one coach or consultant, problem inconsistent revenue, culprit chasing more clients, solution, drop the unscalable offer and create a tiered mentorship community that is easier to sell and people stay for years. So you can stack recurring revenue. And they're like, oh, that sounds so much better. I was just trying to chase more one-on-one clients. Well, stop doing that. Let's do more scalable. And they're like, oh, that sounds like relief to me because it's positioned as a new thing. Health market, who? Busy online entrepreneurs, like entrepreneurs who do online marketing or work online or whatever it may be. It's a very specific who, right? That might be who you decide to go with. Gained 20 pounds after their business took off. Like they started building their business because they became busy. They kind of became overworked. They neglected their health. They gained 20 pounds. Real problem. And now they're like, dang, I can't fit in my clothes anymore. Like even that is could be a better problem where it's like, after I started my business, I can't fit in my clothes anymore. Yeah, I don't feel that sucks, right? It's a real problem. So what do they think they need to do? Well, I just need to starve myself. But you might be like, that's a really dumb thing to do. Instead, here's what I recommend. And I'm just making this stuff up because this is something I've done in the past that actually worked well for me. Is instead of starving yourself, do a dirty 72-hour fast every week. And what that is, a dirty 72-hour fast, or 48 hours, usually what it is, not 72. But it's essentially where every day you eat like 150 calories. So it's dirty, which means it's not a full fast. So you actually feel all right with it. So it doesn't feel like you're starving yourself. So instead of trying to starve yourself, just do a dirty fast. You're like, oh, that makes more sense. Tell me how, right? Balance your diet and do a one dirty 48-hour fast per week. 72 is a little bit long. But that could literally be a solution that you provide. And then you make your whole model based on how to do that well and all the different elements to it. Again, you got to think through this stuff and figure out what's the solution, what's the old way that people think they need to do, and then what's the new way to tell them to do it. Another way to do this would be, you could say the culprit is like what they think they need to do is they need to go on the carnivore diet, or they need to go on the keto diet, all these different diets, right? And so people might think, well, I need to do one of these diets. And so the culprit that you might call out is all these diets, the fad diets. Stop doing the fad diets. It's actually not healthy for you, and it's not going to do good for you. Instead, do this thing over here. And come up with a name for it. Do the balanced fun diet. I don't know. I'm just making something up. But you come up with a name for it, then it's a new solution. They're like, okay, tell me more about this. Well, this is all you do. And you position what they should do as something fresh and new. And they're like, oh, that makes more sense. And then if I do a dirty 48-hour fast every week, then it can help me lose weight. And I add some workouts, some at-home workouts and stuff I can do while I'm busy. Like, again, if you make it for a specific person, then your solution needs to actually work for that person. The more it works for that person, the better it's going to be. Make sense? So a relationship market thing, it could be married men with children, like could be who you're targeting. And their problem is they're constantly arguing with their spouse and afraid of divorce. Like that's a problem. It's a real problem. The culprit is that they might end up doing is just do whatever to please her, but feel less of a man afterwards, like you're not heard in the relationship. That's what a lot of guys end up doing, or women, can be either way around. Let's say that's the old way that they think they need to do it. Well, I just need to do whatever pleases her. It's her way or the highway. So I'll just please her. That kind of mindset, which doesn't really solve the issue. It creates codependency and all kinds of bad stuff. So maybe that's the culprit. That's the thing that they think they should do. But your solution is like, hey, I want to teach you a healthy curiosity-based communication style that you can use when you're arguing, that will help you gain trust and build up your relationship without giving up your manhood. Oh, that sounds interesting. Tell me more. Now we're creating a real solution that people want. So again, figure out what this is, play with it. You can brainstorm 10 different ways to do this if you want to, but then just choose one. And ultimately, like, that's the whole point, is just choose one and go with it. A lot of these things will come up as you go, and you just start having getting clear with your message. So kind of okay, this is kind of what I'm going to go for. Because I've done this multiple times, by the way, guys, where I like just sat down and I brainstormed like, okay, these are 3 different ways I could do this. And instead of, I could have a lot of people get stuck in this and then they don't take any action. Instead, I just picked one. I was like, okay, I'm going to try this marketplace, see how they relate to when they join my webinars, when I teach them. How do they relate? Does it work? Does it fit? If not, then I change it. The goal is to choose one main culprit and define your new opportunity. Don't get caught on overthinking these things. Brainstorm ideas, pick one, and you can change it later. Nothing's written in stone. We're here to test. We're here to be scientists. We're here to learn. And as we do that, then we can build something that's truly great. Yeah, the idea of the culprit is one of the best, has been my aha thing as well. And by the way, I didn't tell the story behind it because I didn't want to add extra stuff to it, but tell the story now for those of you that want it. But the story, the way I kind of came up with that framework, because I was thinking through it, is there's a guy that was on to do marketing in the 1920s. He was brought on to sell Pepsodent toothpaste. And so he sat with the Pepsodent toothpaste and he came up with a marketing, essentially came up with a problem, culprit, solution. I just defined it. I took what he did, was like, oh, how can I model this? And I came up with problem, culprit, solution. But I came up with the problem was where it's like, okay, when it comes to brushing teeth, the problem was that people were getting yellow teeth, were getting gum disease, their teeth were rotting. Those were kind of the three main problems that I identified if people don't brush their teeth daily. And so then he's like, okay, what's the culprit? What culprit can I point to that is causing these problems? And he's thought for this for a while, but he kind of came up with the idea like, okay, what happens when you don't brush your teeth? There's this gunk that builds up on your teeth from the food and the drinks that you drink. And this gunk actually builds up like this film over your teeth. And so after lots of thinking on this, he came up with the culprit as being the film on your teeth. And then he's like, what's the solution? Well, the solution is that you have to brush your teeth daily with Pepsodent. And what's going to do, it's going to get rid of that culprit and it's going to solve the problem. Now that's for a physical product. Now, because there's many different ways to do your culprit, but I decided to, and so that would be calling out a very tangible culprit where it's a physical thing where people have film on their teeth and then you can solve the film on their teeth. So that's another way to think about your culprit. However, the way that the best way when it comes to providing transformational advice is to do it the way that I shared it here, which is focusing on the old way of doing things and the way that they think they should do it. Because that's a better culprit. That's an easier way to come up with a culprit when it comes to a transformational type offer. Again, there's you look at any kind of different marketing, you can kind of identify what the problem is that that the people are going after. Look at anything that's successful. What's the problem that they're going after? What's the culprit that they're calling out? And what's the solution that they're giving? Like you can look at anybody and they all have this. Take ClickFunnels, for instance, which is a funnel builder. Like their problem was they went after is low conversion rates. And then the culprit, which was a physical culprit, something people were having at the moment, was confusing websites. The reason that you're having these bad conversion rates is because your website's confusing. So the solution was build a funnel with ClickFunnels. So it's like those three things will go into every successful ad campaign ever. You will find those three things in it. So if you don't have that, then it's going to be really, really hard to actually sell something if those things aren't defined. Mark, the hungry market was huge for me. I'm not sure my current market is hungry. Yes, I agree. I get that, Mark. I get that. And that's the hard thing. Okay, and this is the simple reality. It takes some time sometimes where you just look at a couple different markets and you do some research before you find the one that's really hungry that you relate with the most. But if your market's not, because again, this is a big thing. I want you guys to get this, and this is a lesson that I need to share here because Jesus himself, when he went to his hometown, it says he could do no miracles there, but he did some healing. Why? Because the market wasn't hungry. They didn't believe in him. They weren't hungry, and so he didn't help them. He's like, okay, I'm here for the people that want my help. And so we have to position ourselves the same way. And so therefore, if we're targeting a market that's not hungry, we're not going, it's just simply not going to work. Can you target more than one main area in the market and more than one subcategory, or there an overlap between two main areas or subcategories? Like again, if there's an overlap, you can try. Again, my goal here is to help you kind of clarify, but you might have multiple different ones that you want to go after, and that's all right. But the key is for each of those multiple ones, you're going to have to their audience and like their problems and the way they think about stuff is going to be slightly different. So that's why it's smart to pick one core one and start with that. And then if you learn from that and it doesn't quite work, then you can branch off to some like a little bit of a different market. Like this is just me being honest here with my experience. Like there's people that I've worked with where they 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 like the idea of coaching. Like some of my marketing was connecting to people that, oh, I want to be a coach someday. That sounds like fun. Like I want to be a coach. And so they come and they're not prepared. They don't have anything ready. But because my language was off, because it wasn't connecting, it was just like, hey, build a 25K a month recurring revenue community. Like that was the thing I was positioning as. Then it just kind of everybody was like, oh, I want to do that. So I was connecting with a lot of people that wasn't ready for what I had. And the reason they weren't ready is because I didn't get targeted. And which is funny because I'm the one that teaches that make sure that my clients get targeted, but then sometimes I don't do it myself. So anyway, lesson for me. But that's the whole thing is like you want to get super targeted. So yes, you can target more than one area, but I would recommend that you choose one. Okay, welcome to number 4, the fourth part of this process, and which is funny because this is actually process, and that's what we're going to look at today in this particular video. Is we're gonna figure out what's the process that you're going to use, and specifically your signature process, your model that you can put your stamp on and say, this is the way I help people. And because the problem is, again, a lot of people like, and this has been my problem, is I've helped a lot of different people do a lot of different things. So I never had a clear model, never had one clear way of doing things. And so therefore, whenever a new person would come on, I just make it up a custom model according to what I know, but just kind of put it together, kind of put stuff together. There was no clear model. And so therefore it's hard to really help people if you don't have a clear model. The key is to get a very clear model that you can give people guide to, that you can like, it's kind of like a treasure map. Like if you have a treasure map and you have a way to go to that treasure to get to that treasure, then people are going to more apt, they're going to be more successful. So not only is it going to make it easier for you, but it's going to make it easier for other people, because the simple reality is most people lack clarity. They want things, but they have no idea how to get there. And they're looking for someone who can give them a plan to get the thing that they want. So you want to be the person that gives them a real plan. By creating a real plan that's unique to you, that's your own, that you can put your stamp on, that it might be the same stuff that a lot of other people do or very similar, but you put your unique stamp on it, then you're setting yourself apart as somebody that people want to follow. So again, this is like the key, this is kind of the idea, is again, taking this idea of they're over here with a problem, they want to get to this point over here, which is the promise that you're gonna identify for people. They have a gap. Our goal is to bridge the gap. What is that bridge? What's that process that's going to take them over the gap into the thing that they want? What's going to take them from Egypt into the promised land? What is that process? And so that's your signature process. And so we want to understand what that is, and we want to identify what the steps are, what the process is, what the phases of it are, the stages of it are. And because as we do that, the more clear we get and the more we can clearly communicate our process, the more people are been like, because if we connect with, because again, the one before this in positioning, our goal was to connect with where people are at and give them a new way of doing things. Now we're solidifying our new way of doing things by showing them how to use it. We're showing them how to get the result that we were promising. So the first thing we want to do is want to actually identify we want to work backwards by starting with the promise. So what is that promise that we're going to give people? We must define the end goal that we want to take people to. It must be something that we know we can get people to in the next 1 to 2 years. This should be a long-term goal that we want to get people through to, that is very beneficial to them. So what's that promise? Now there's two ways you kind of want to determine the promise, and there's two ways to do it. It can be more of a destination-based promise, whereas like, hey, I'm going to help you build a 250K plus profit scalable hybrid community, or I'm going to help you like lose 50 pounds and keep it off. So that's a long-term thing, right? That's a bold promise, big promise, et cetera, et cetera. It's destination based, or it can be more of a consistent results based promise. Like, hey, I'm going to help you be able to enroll 10 to 15 clients monthly into a scalable 2K hybrid community. So instead of like, this is more destination based, this is more like consistent results based. I'm going to get you to a point where you're constantly enrolling 15 to 20 people into a 2K program. So do you see how the different kind of ways to think about your promise? But you kind of define both. Take some time to define both. You might use both in your marketing, but pick one. Pick one that you feel is good, you feel good about. And this is the big thing about your promise. You must feel good about it. Because here's the thing that a lot of people do is they make the promise, they overpromise and underdeliver. So in a world where overpromising and underdelivering is the normal, underpromising and over-delivering is way better. So while we want to make a promise, we want to make a promise that feels right to people and that they're like, oh, I could get there and that makes sense to me. And specifically for our audience. Again, we're making it a promise according to what our audience really believes in and what they think is possible. For example, and this is something you kind of, sometimes you need to dumb it down because sometimes you might have a really great result, but people think it's too good to be true. And even though you can help people with, like, this is my one client who she's really good at helping people with day trading. And she's shown how she can help people grow to as much as six figures from a very small, like $100 into six figures, which is like crazy, right? However, if she leads with that promise, people are like very skeptical. They're like, yeah, right. I don't believe that. So it's almost better to have a smaller promise because people are like, oh, that makes sense to me. That makes sense to me. So you want to have like a promise that people are like, okay, that makes sense to me. I think I can grasp that. Again, for your specific audience. So you don't want to promise too much, but you want to promise something that's clear that people are like, yeah, that makes sense. And you must feel good about it. It must be something they desire, but you have to feel good about it. You must be confident that you can help people with this. You can do this by make the promise even more desirable. Then once you kind of figure out what the core of the promise is, now you want to make it more desirable. And the way we do this is this. You can do this by defining what they'll get to avoid. Like, I'm going to help you do this, but I'm going to help you do it without these things. So a really good promise includes the things that people want to avoid. So I'm going to help you get to this point here without any cold DMs, without working more like 40 plus hours a week, or without chasing clients and trying to convince them to buy. Like, I'm going to do that. I'm going to help you get here without this. That's defining a clear promise and making it clear and something that people really want. You can do this. We can also do this by defining more of the benefits to your model of helping. You're going to be able to do this because when people first think, well, I want like building a hybrid community, they might think, yeah, but then people aren't going to get results, and they have these beliefs, right? And so you want to address that by sharing benefits that goes against this. Like, for instance, more instead of what they get to avoid, it could be more benefits based, where it's like, while increasing client results, stacking recurring revenue, and working less hours. So it's without this while doing this. And you can define both of these, but kind of figure out like, what is your promise? What's the result that you can point to? Again, we get to brainstorm. We get to come up with a bunch of different ideas and then select one. Again, the key here is just to take action on one. You can always come back and use a different one if it doesn't feel right or things don't, like, people don't connect with it or whatever it may be. But the result, like the promise, I'm going to help you do this without this thing that they want to avoid, or while doing these other benefits as well. So just define what that is. Again, the biggest thing, simplify the promise, make it as clear as possible. It must be believable and relatable. Under promise is better than over promise. Don't promise something you can't deliver, because what a lot of people have done is they overpromised, where they do something that is just simply not possible. They've never done it, but it's just a good idea. But then it's like it doesn't work. So like there's an element where this promise might actually be better for me to use than this promise, because it's a little bit more of like 10 or 15 to 20 clients monthly into a scalable 2K hybrid community offer. Okay, that makes sense. I get that, right? So that might almost be a better promise for me. Anyway, that's just me thinking through this as I do this. So that's the first thing, is you want to determine what is your core promise. What's the promise that we want to get people to? Because we already know the problem. Now, what's the promise? Second thing is we want to determine what are the phases, the milestones that will get people over the bridge. And these milestones, a lot of times, they're 3 to 5 different milestones or phases that people need to take, and milestones they need to reach to get to the end result. So so you want to identify what are the phases, what are the milestones. You want to work backwards and say, okay, for them to get to this promise, how do they get there? Well, they gotta, one, like for me, and this is the process that I have. I put it into 3 core milestones. First milestone is to get launched. So you want to launch your hybrid community, right? Second milestone is to automate. And then want to automate the delivery and the process of it to make it better, like to basically, here you're just learning, and as you learn, you're building revenue. But here you're automating, and as you automate, you're also building revenue, but you're getting clients in consistently. Then here you're multiplying. That's the final phase. So 3 core phases and milestones. So you want to identify what are the milestones. Then you want to identify what's the promise for each milestone. What are you like when they complete this? Like, what's that promise for that specific milestone? Then what are the actions people must take to complete the milestone? So those are kind of the 3 things that we want to do, and kind of look at it from this perspective. Your milestone name it, give it some sort of name. It doesn't have to be fancy. Just start with something simple. Promise what they'll do and the result they'll get in a specific time frame. That's the promise. And what are the action steps? And break down the action steps. Again, this is an example. For my program, the first step is to launch. Where the promise is to design your new hybrid community offer and get 10 sales in 90 days or less. It's a very clear promise. The clearer you can get, the better. That sounds good, right? Then action steps. Well, how do they do that? Well, they got to clarify their goals. They got to design their offer tiers and create their offer doc. They got to have conversations with some people about it to see how people respond. You need to create their core presentation in a Google Doc. They can present it as a webinar, then set up all their tech. Then that'd be other steps below that. I just wanted to give you a small sample so you can kind of understand this. This, by the way, takes some time to think through. Because what you want to do is you want to identify every single step that you think people need to take, but then you want to go through and you want to get rid of all the steps that aren't really necessary. Because you want the most simplest, most direct path to help people get to the end result as possible. As you go through the action steps that people need to take, eliminate everything that isn't completely necessary. You want the most simple and most direct approach to getting results. Don't worry about getting the phases perfect or having the right name for them. Our goal is simply to clarify what they are. And so, again, because this is a lot of times what happens, even for myself, is where, like, in my launch process, I used to build a wait list, get people on your wait list, start having conversations. And then I realized that it's just faster just to set a date for a webinar and do the webinar instead of having a wait list for a webinar, because that's one extra step that people don't need to do. And so it's faster to do it the other way. So that's kind of so I took away that step. That makes sense? So again, you brainstorm these things. This is kind of fun to think through. It's like, oh, what would be the way I could do this? Okay, what is the actual process? If I want to get them to this milestone, what's the best way to do that? What's the most simple way? What can I avoid? What doesn't need to be done? You just write it out, brainstorm. The third thing is you want to actually name it, give it a name. Now that you have a model of transformation that will lead people to a clear result in a quick fashion, to make it unique, you need to give it a name. And this is your signature process. Things to think about. Consider using something that connects with your new opportunity in the previous lesson. For example, the hybrid community method. Like if I'm telling people they need to build a hybrid community as the kind of the new opportunity, like, or basically I tell people a tiered mentorship community, which then I just call it the hybrid community because it's a simple way to say it, then I could call it the hybrid community method. That's one way I could call it. I could also consider using an identity focused name because I'm working with spirit-led creators, and this is what I do name it. So I call it the spirit-led creator model. That makes sense. So it could be identity thing if it's something that your people really identify with, or they want to identify with as an aspiring identity that they want to have, then you could use that. Again, brainstorm ideas, pick one. You can always change it later if you need to do something. Use model or method or something like that. Add it to the name. My signature process, what's the name for it? And you can like for me, like to come up with this, it took a while to come up with this. I just brainstormed a bunch of different names. Like I had kingdom-led creator, kingdom-minded creator. I had all these different things. Then I just I just chose one. I ended up with spirit-led creator. I'm like, the domain name is available for it. So I went with it. So think through it and just pick one. Naming things is one of like in our like we're created to be creative. We're naturally creative. So naming things is part of the way to do that. So just go through and name things. Like naming things and making it unique is kind of like you get to be creative with it. You get to have some fun with it. Again, we're just being curious. We're having some fun with this. We're thinking through it with the Holy Spirit. What is the fastest way for people to get results? How can I really share them and help them? Then finally, once you name your process, you have your process and you name your process. And this is again, we've already picked a person, but I want you to go deeper. Now that we know our process, our bridge, we want to pick the right person. Now we know the process we want to take people through. Now I want to see who's going to be the easiest to lead through this process. Who's going to be the person that is going to be the easiest to lead through this process, are going to get the results the quickest. So we want to pick the right person. And yeah, I want to create a criteria for the person you know you'll be able to help get the best results in the fastest time frame. You want someone that is primed for getting the result and simply needs someone to walk with them through it. So if somebody's already primed, like who are the people that are most primed to get the result that you want to help them get? Pretend that you won't get paid until you get somebody your promised result. Like let's say, and again, the promised result in a lot of ways, again, because we split it up into phases, each phase is kind of their own result. Like this is a promise. So if I wouldn't get paid until people reach this first milestone promise, then who would I choose to work with? And who wouldn't I choose to work with? Who's going to be the right person for this if I wouldn't get paid for this? Well, I wouldn't work for somebody that's just, hey, I want to be a coach. I wouldn't work with that person. Because I know they have to go through a lot of things to learn how to be a coach before they can effectively sell something. Because there's so much stuff they need to go through beforehand. So you gotta like again, we get to kind of identify who are these people. If we don't get paid until we get their promised result for that first milestone, what characteristics, criteria would they need to have for you to get them a result? You know that you can get them a result, you can get it quickly for them. Again, these are different examples. A weight loss example, if the promise is to lose 20 plus pounds and keep it off without giving up dessert, I even though that says desert, but without giving up dessert, then how would you do that? Well, if it's somebody that you want to, if you lose 20 pounds, then you want to have somebody that is already like 50 pounds overweight, because losing 20 pounds, if they only have 20 pounds to lose, is kind of hard. But if they're 50 pounds overweight, it's much easier to lose 20 pounds. So you want to find someone like that, but they also must be somebody that has 45 minutes a day to get dedicate to this. If there's somebody who's literally doesn't have 45 minutes, you're like, sorry, I can't help you. You got to have some time, right? I know if they have 45 minutes to spare, they're 50 pounds overweight, I'm going to be able to help them get this result quite quickly. And as somebody who's used to like even more, if it's someone who's worked out in the past, that way they have that ingrained within them to work out. And so, but they haven't for 2+ years, then they're going to be able to get results way quicker because there's muscle keeps like what's the thing they say where muscle keeps the form or whatever, where muscle memory, because muscle has memory. And so you start working out again, you're going to get quick gains really quickly. You get gains really quickly and get them results really quickly. So it could be someone that has that. Again, you're looking through, okay, what would they need to have that I would not get paid until they got the result? Another example is a employee productivity example. If the promise is that you'll help a company get twice as much done without any more effort, then what would people need to have? Well, they must have at least 3 full-time employees. Since more employees mean more results, you must have at least 3. Let's say that's your criteria. At least 3, or even more, 10. Again, like Alex Hormozy helps companies scale. So his thing, you got to be at 3 million per year before you start even working with them. That's a criteria. So what's the criteria? Have a productivity app, but no, it's not set up right. So it's somebody, you want a company that already has a productivity app. So they looked into some of this stuff, but they haven't set it up right. So it's even more confusing. Even better if they have a very specific productivity app that you help, that you're good with. Like you could say, like, hey, I help people specifically. Like if you have, what's one that I use? What's it called? ClickUp. I use ClickUp. So you could literally talk to businesses that use ClickUp. Hey, you're using, like, want us to set up ClickUp. You got ClickUp to get your employees more productive, but you haven't set it up right. You know, there's so much stuff, more stuff you could do. Well, we help you with that. So if they already have something ready to go, that makes it easier to get the result, right? Or it could also, you could decide what kind of business. They must be a white collar service business, because if they're a blue collar business, it'd be way harder to improve results because it's blue collar work. So you might want to define that. So again, what's the criteria? What do they need to have? Or divorce example. If the problem is to save your marriage without going to a therapist, maybe that's the promise you have, then what must they have in order to do that? Well, they must not have had the divorce conversation yet. If people know that their relationship is not in a good place, but they've had the divorce conversation and the one partner wants to get a divorce, it's really hard to stop that divorce from happening, right? But if they haven't had the divorce conversation yet, but it's getting painful where they're really clashing and they're afraid of divorce happening, then there's still chance for it to be saved. You're going to have more likelihood of keeping them from getting divorced. That makes sense? Again, what's the criteria? You must have been married for at least 5 years. Newly married has a little bit less ties to each other because they're just newly married. But you're married for 5 years and you have children, then you're going to find a way to make the marriage work. It's going to be more painful to have the divorce because the pain is higher. And so, if the pain is higher, you're going to be able to help them with that process more and get results better because the pain is higher. And so people are more dedicated to getting the solution. You are defining the dream client based on the probability that you can deliver. So again, what do? We figure out what our process is, what our core system is, what our stages are for getting people results, what our milestones are, the promises and the actions. And then we pick the right person that we want to take through these milestones that we know we can get the right result for in the quickest way possible. By having a clear promise with a unique process, you're halfway to a super powerful offer. There are many that will buy simply because they like your process. They're like, oh, that process, it feels right to me. I like it. It makes sense. And finally, I have something that makes sense. You're giving me a path, and I've wanted to have this path for a long time, but I didn't have it. And it makes sense to me. And that will get you a lot of sales. Plus, it makes it really easy to share what you do if you can explain it well. Again, for now, you just want the simplest path to create the path to success that you can create. As you start taking people through the process, you might find some things that need to shift or are unnecessary. Your process improves as you serve the people. Again, action creates clarity. Action precedes clarity. So go figure out your process, brainstorm it, have some fun with it, figure out how you're going to take people to the journey, to the promise, to the end result. What are the steps you're going to take and what you're going to name that process? So welcome to Productize, section 5 of the aligned offer protocol. See, now that we know our process, we want to clarify the deliverables that will help people, which is the tools, resources, training, etc., that our clients will actually receive that will help them get results faster and with more ease. Essentially, the deliverables, the things that you provide, are going to be the things that take them along the journey and make it easy for them to go along the journey. Now, Alex Hormozy has this thing called the value equation. And the value equation, which I believe is very true, is you need to understand this. When people have a dream outcome, again, we define what that is. But your value is determined by their perceived likelihood of achieving this dream outcome, and minus the time delay they think it will take and the effort and sacrifice it will take. So what's their perceived likelihood of success and how much time? Essentially, our goal is to create a deliverables that will increase the perceived likelihood of achievement, of achieving the dream outcome or the core promise. Like people, like if we have deliverables that show how easy it is, like that they can do it, and they're like, oh, that makes sense. I can do it, right? And even having the process that we defined in the section before, this is their perceived likelihood of achievement just went way up because we have that process laid out for them. But now the deliverables will be things that will decrease the time will take them to get results, and it will decrease the effort that it will take from them because we want to make it as simple and as quick as possible. That's our goal. So we get to be creative, and what can we create? What can we deliver? What can we share with people that's going to make it as simple as possible for them to get to the end result? And as quick and as simple as possible. That's the question. We want to do this without adding bells and whistles that don't actually help people get results. We don't want to overinflate our value and overwhelm people in the process. It's very important because a lot of people just they go through this process and then they add a bunch of unnecessary things that don't help people through the journey. They're just there to sound good and to get people to buy. And so we don't want to do that. We only want to add things that are actually good. So that's a prerequisite to following this process. But here's how we do it. Here's how we create deliverables. First of all, we identify the problems along the journey. See, we outline the process. Hey, these are the steps you need to take, and so on and so forth, right? But as people go through that process, they're going to encounter problems. There's going to be some objections that they face. There are going to be roadblocks. There are going to be things that come up that don't go right in their process of completing the journey and getting their promised result. Now, our goal is to identify what they are. What are these problems that are going to come out that we can create deliverables for to help them overcome it? So we're basically taking time to identify, okay, what roadblocks will people have along their journey and how can we help them overcome those roadblocks and create deliverables and tools and stuff like that will help them overcome this roadblock. So go over the list of the steps you created in the previous section and simply brainstorm. What are the problems or perceived problems that people may have when they're completing each step? And by the way, you'll learn a lot of these things like in the beginning here, you're just brainstorming from yourself. You might actually use ChatGPT to ask the question like, hey, here's the steps that I'm going to take people through. What perceived problems or problems do you think people have as they go through this journey? And ChatGPT will tell you, hey, these are different problems that people might have. So in the beginning, we're just brainstorming, but again, this is the process. This is a scientific experience and a scientific journey because as you kind of learn these things and brainstorm, as you have conversations with people, you're going to learn things that you didn't think about that people are dealing with. So now, again, this is examples of different problems that I've identified from the steps that from examples of steps that I've outlined in the previous section. So one of the steps is define your offer tiers and create your offer doc. So a problem might be you might overthink everything. They might take weeks to complete it. They might think it needs to be perfect. So they're always in limbo. They don't actually complete it. They don't know how to present it. They're scared of it. They're not confident. Like those are some problems that they might face in their journey of creating this. Or another step is creating their core presentation in Google Doc. They might be like, problems might be, well, I don't know how to speak on camera. I don't know how to deliver this. I don't know how to put it together. People don't listen to this. I don't know what topic to teach. How do I outline this? Getting stuck in overthinking, not knowing how to present it. All these different problems that people face, right? But our goal is just to brainstorm. What are the problems that people are facing in their journey? Then we want to take time to identify the solutions to these problems. And looking at the problems people may have and completing the steps you outlined, we're going to come up with the solutions we can provide. Think through the solutions that we can include in each step. And solutions can be tools where it's like you can create templates, you can create checklists. Is there software that will help them do it? Is there spreadsheets you can create? Is there calculators you can create? What tools can you give people to make the step easy? It could be other people's products. Where you look at the marketplace. Could you partner with somebody else and offer their product or software to your members where your partners get a cut of the sales. Like you could do a partnership thing where it's like, again, or an element of this is where like the software thing, like one of the things that I have in the works for what I offer is to have it set up to where I have a software with Go High Level where everybody will get basically a free account with Go High Level, a sub account under my account, where they will get everything, my whole system essentially in their sub account to where they can just go in and change the different elements of it so that all their tech is set up. That makes sense because the problem is, what's the problem? Well, people have a problem with getting the tech set up. So they get overwhelmed with tech. And so that might be the reason they don't get launched is because of their tech. That's a problem that they face. Again, if we look at problems and identify the problems that people might have. So what's the solution? Well, I can create a snapshot, Go High Level snapshot, and install it, like basically give people a Go High Level account with that snapshot so that they just need to go in and change the wording, and it's easy for them. That could be something I could provide, right? Also think through things that you wish you had. Like when you were starting out, did you wish that you would had when you started? For instance, one thing I know would have helped me a lot when I got started was having somebody look over my shoulders and review the things that I'm doing and give me feedback on it. So that could be one of your deliverables is, hey, once you hit this milestones, once you complete this certain action, I will actually review it for you. That could be a bonus that you provide is some sort of review. No, actually, even thing with this, what I just said with the review thing, like Jeff, again, I like that he was on here earlier, but he's my trainer. And so he helps me with my food and he gives me workout programs and so on and so forth. And one of the things that he provides is that I take a picture of what I eat and send it to him. And just me doing that keeps me accountable to things. So you could figure out what are things like that you can add to your offer that keeps people accountable. Because when I take those pictures, like that has helped me stay on my diet more than anything. And there's regular basis stuff. Like, are there things that you use on a regular basis that you don't even really think about? Like, are there some systems or routines that you use that you could include that can help them in their process? Again, we don't want to add bells and whistles they don't need, but what if stuff that they actually need to take the steps? Or is there some unique things that you can offer that nobody else can offer? Are there passions you can tie into your offer that will set you apart? Or maybe there are other things that you can offer that you can really do and provide without much extra work. Like unique things for me, for instance, is like I can provide prayer calls because that's a unique thing because of my positioning in the marketplace is like we want to be spirit led. So having prayer calls for business and stuff like that would be a unique thing I can provide that's also very beneficial. It helps people take the steps, helps us connect with one another, and different things like that. That's something I can provide. Now, so think through again, you're just brainstorming. What are different things that you could create and different solutions you could provide to help people overcome these steps and take these steps well? Then you want to think through each of these in a different like different levels of delivery. So example for a weight loss problem where one of the steps is to go shopping. Because like if you want to help people lose weight, they're going to have to eat better. And one of the ways to eat better is they have to go shopping. So that could be one of the steps. You need to go shopping. So a done for you part of helping them go shopping could be, hey, I go shopping for you every week and I deliver it to you. Again, that's not scalable. You can't really do that well in a scalable model, but you might do it in a core model where it's local people. Hey, I'm going to go shopping for you once a week. And then you can really charge a lot for that, right? Because it's you doing it for them. So people will be like, oh my, that'd be awesome. Again, done for you, you can charge more. It could be done with you model where it's like, hey, every Saturday we're going to meet at Whole Foods and go shopping as a group. That could be a way you help them go shopping and take that step. Or you could do it or the do it yourself model is like, hey, I've put together a software where you select over 200 healthy recipes, select your quantity from over 200 healthy recipes. So you just every week you go in, oh, I want these meals specifically, select your quantity, and it spits out your grocery list and adds it to Instacart in one click. So the grocery shopping is basically done for you. See, that could be a very scalable version where you're getting them the best results possible in the simplest way possible. Because this is way quicker for them than having to figure out themselves their own recipes and all the stuff they need to do to figure out what they want to eat and to make sure it hits their macros and all that different stuff. Like if you had a software setup that could do that, that'd be incredible. Again, some of this stuff takes a while to create. That's why we want to start with the core element of this. This is why we start with core, but with a goal of getting to this thing right here and having the finances to be able to get somebody to build this, essentially. But we start with the core. That makes sense. So now we're, again, really getting into the weeds of how to create a great product to ensure that people get results. So different examples for me. Again, define your offer tier and create an offer doc, like done for you. I could go through the offer sheet with you so I understand you, and then I just create and write the offer sheet doc for you. Like that could mean me doing it for people. Done with you is we do a one-on-one work session where I help you clarify your offer and you fill out the offer doc and I review it. That could be a done with you kind of model for doing this part. A done do it yourself model could be, hey, follow this offer framework, put the prompts into the chat GPT, and it will create your offer doc for you. I could do something like that. Again, I could set up a custom GPT where people could go and do it themselves. Like it'd be very simple for them just to go in and answer questions. And then it spits out their best offer and their best offer doc, just going through this process. I could do that. That'd be really cool, but I don't have that built yet. Sorry, guys. So then another thing is to create your core presentation in Google Doc. Like what are some things that people might struggle with there? Well, I could interview them and get the information I need. And then I write out their webinar for them, their whole webinar, their whole presentation for them. Done with you is I could do a live session to map out your webinar. Then you write it and I review it. And then do it yourself. I could create a GBT, again, chat GBT, where you simply answer the questions and it spits out the core of your webinar for you. It outlines it for you. Again, very cool idea, right? That'd be a great way to do this. But do you see like the different levels of this and the different tiers that you can provide and help people go through, accomplish the thing that you want to help them accomplish? Again, you just kind of go through this and identify what are the different things you could add and could provide. Eventually, you'll have a whole list of different solutions that you can provide. Now you just want to go through and trim and stack the solutions. Essentially, prioritize the solutions that are best based on value and cost. Cost is more than just time and money, it's peace of mind. You don't want to marry a solution forever, but if you can't imagine even doing it for a month, don't do it. So if it's something you don't feel right about, that's not aligned with you, like for instance, me, like for some people and with my core, I'll set up some of the tech, right? I'll have that set up. But for me to set up just do tech all day long is not good for me. It's not the way I like to, it's, if I had to marry that the whole time, I wouldn't do it. So you want to think through what are the things you want to actually provide and what are the things you don't want to provide. Like for instance, the example here of going shopping every week and delivering it for people, that would kind of suck unless you hired somebody to do that, right? So that's probably not something you want to offer, but it's good to have the idea here and figure out, okay, what could I actually provide? Because you might break it down and figure out something that you can provide where, hey, this group thing actually tends to work. Like that'd be kind of a cool thing. I'll do that for some of my clients and then we'll see where it goes until I have this set up, right? So you want to kind of think it through it from this perspective. Take all the stuff that you've created here and kind of all the different solutions, and you want to look at and you want to separate them according to these things right here. High value, meaningful, fast, easy, and believe they can do it and enjoy it. Take all the solutions, all the deliverables that are high value, set them aside, mark them as high value. Low value, all the things that aren't really meaningful or kind of slow or they're really hard or complex, not easy to do, not interesting, and people don't believe they'll like doing it or using it. Those are the low value stuff that you want to say, okay, this is more low value. High cost, and this is like you want to look at all the stuff that's high cost, which requires people to scale, which again, some of the done for you stuff, a lot of done for you stuff will be high cost because it requires people to scale it. Low cost can scale without people, but with some upfront effort instead. And there might be some upfront stuff that you need to do, but you can scale it pretty well. So you want to kind of like figure out what all those, like take each of these different solutions that you create and identify, are they high value, low value, high cost, low cost, kind of those and separate them in different categories. Now you want to remove all items that are not high value. So all the low value stuff that's not really going to help, get rid of them. Just get rid of them. Keep only a handful of the high cost, high value stuff. Because some of the high cost, high value stuff, like that's stuff that you can start with your core or your circle until you can scale it down more and get all the, like, end up creating this software, which would be pretty cool. Then keep only a handful of the handful of high cost, high value, and everything else should be high value, low cost. High value, low cost should be the thing that you want to focus on if you want for scalability. Again, you might start with some high cost stuff that's not really scalable, but you want to start with that so you can deliver the result until you have your low value, like your low cost stuff set up, like the GPTs where you're not spending time where I'm not spending time helping people write their webinar, but they're just using AI to do it. Excuse me. So that's kind of the idea. Start with something that's less scalable, more high cost, high value to get people to say yes and to begin monetization. Again, what I just said. You have multiple pieces you're stacking together to make the offer more compelling. Now, there might be some stuff that you figure out that you can, different solutions that you come up with where you're like, oh, I can just put this into one package and it works. So you might end up, so that's one thing you want to do. Again, less is more because you have a lot more, it increases overwhelm. So figure out where you can package things together. And we simply want to give people what they need to get the result. We don't want to overinflate our value by adding bells and whistles that aren't focused on helping people get results. Name your deliverables. Next thing you want to do is get creative, figure out the ones you want to keep, and name them. Give them cool names. Should be unique to you, intriguing, easy to remember. Descriptions, and you can create descriptions for them as well. Descriptions should put all together with a result, a time frame, and what's all included. You can insert the idea into ChatGPT and ask to come up with a name and a one-sentence description. For example, again, for the step, define your offer tier and create offer doc, I could create the aligned offer protocol, an all-in-one guided framework to discover, design, and present your most profitable long-term offer. Again, that could be what I package all the, like once I have the prompts in it for people to go through to build out get ChatGPT or to write their offer doc, then that could be even added into this description. Then create your core presentation in Google Doc. It could be a webinar and a weekend workshop. Get everything you need to map out your first webinar in one weekend with AI. Like that could be what I create, the deliverable and naming it. And so people are like, oh, webinar in a weekend, that sounds cool, right? So that's kind of the idea, is you want to name it, put some stuff together, name it, figure out what it's going to look like. What are the things that are actually high value, low cost, and some high cost stuff, especially in the beginning to get started. Because we want to get people results until we get the things created that need to be created that are more scalable. So that's it. After this, you'll have a stack of deliverables you are planning on including throughout the customer journey to get your promised results. These will increase the value of your offer as people can tell that you included everything they need for success, not something that will overwhelm them. Again, people want something that will increase the perceived likelihood of them achieving their dream outcome and decrease the time it will take them to get results and decrease the effort it will take from them. So that's how you're productizing these stuff. Welcome to step 6, where we want to package our offer. Now that we productize it, we have some deliverables we want to share and ways we want to deliver it. Now we got to package it into our different layers and tiers that we have. And our goal is to create a version of our offer for our core, our circle, and it's not supposed to say crowd, it's supposed to say community. But, which again, if we look at this, I should have taken this picture over there. But if we look at this is kind of what we want to build one for a community, our circle, and our core, and package it in these different ways. So at the core, the most transformational offers, this is some core things that people have. Again, content where people get the frameworks, the training that they need to go through their journey, like the content can be courses, which is your core frameworks and training. They can be monthly workshops on different topics. Again, your courses should be the most succinct way to get to their process. Then the workshops are taking care of helping people add different skills and add different things that will help them on their journey, but aren't reliant for them to have for their journey. Community, this connection, accountability. You can do group chat through Telegram or School or some other platform. You can do challenges where X day challenges for the group to go through together. Hey, we're going to do a content challenge or whatever. It's things that will add to it and help people accomplish things. This is where you get to be creative. Again, content is pretty straightforward. We're helping people go through our process and as quickly as possible using the deliverables that we have. And then community is we're having some fun with that. And you can have some fun with that. And customization is guidance, where again, we start with group coaching calls, work things together as a group. That's your community. Then you have private one-on-one chat for the people that are in your circle. And then you can have one-on-one calls as well as you need to. So this is kind of the core things that we want to include and package in our offer. But now we want to take all those deliverables and we get to kind of explore this, where now it's like, okay, now we have all these deliverables. These are the things I know I'm going to include, but what am I actually going to include? Like when it comes to the community section, these are the deliverables that are more scalable, low cost, high value deliverables that you're going to want to create. A lot of these might be stuff that you don't have ready right now, but you want to create later. So you just want to kind of brainstorm, okay, this is what I want to include in my community. Again, we're just kind of having fun by looking at these things in different tiers and being like, oh, I could add this. I could add this in this one. No, you know what? Community scalable, that's not really scalable. So I'm going to take this away. Or they don't really need this. Again, what's the simplest, most direct path for people to get the end result? Now, pricing wise for community, the goal pricing, again, you want to kind of figure out what are the deliverables you're going to have in your community. Then what are the goal pricing that you're going to have? Again, when we first launch these, it's going to be lower than this. And right now we're just brainstorming ideas because we're not going to start with our community. And when we start selling, we're going to start with our core and our circle. But this is just to kind of get ideas, like take everything we have, put it into something that we can look at and be like, oh, this is what I want, right? Have some fun with this. Like the goal should be like $200 to $500 a month with a 12-month commitment. Or if you want to save 20%, it would be $960 to $4,800 or something like that. Again, you might be a little bit lower than this. You might be higher than this. The key is you want to create pricing that's good for you and good for the people that you're serving. And so it might be lower than this. But again, if we are targeting a specific group of people that we can get the most results for, then higher is almost always better, because here's what happens in lower communities. People will buy because it sounds good, but because they're not fully committed, they won't stay. Like I've seen that happen a lot because it's not a full commitment. And like, again, I'd rather have a 12-month commitment for people. That's why I always do a 12-month commitment for the community. But you can play with this. You get to choose the model. This is completely up to you how you want to do it. So at the core, I recommend having a little bit higher per month for the simple reason that people that are willing to pay more are usually willing to commit more to it, and to get like they're going to end up getting more results a lot of times. It's not always true, but a lot of times it tends to kind of be that way. Because I know a lot of people who build up their community and they didn't have a 12-month commitment, and their churn is really bad, to where they constantly have to keep selling because their churn is so bad, because they don't have, like, people aren't committed, and people buy because it's just a good idea and it doesn't cost them that much. And so like, oh, I'll join. Like there's communities that I'm part of right now where I'm not really interacting with them much, because it's like, it's for me, it's like $100 a month. And it's like, I just don't really, I have 1 or 2 calls a month with them and that's about it. So I'm not really interacting well with it. But if it costs more, then guess what? Then I have another community that I'm part of where it's $300 a month, I think. And that one I'm much more active in because it costs a little bit more. And so it's front of mind all the time, because I'm like, oh, I'm paying for this. Like, let's make most of it. But the other one is like, oh, It's 95 bucks a month. I don't really show up much, I'll be honest. So anyway, you've got to figure out what you're going to include in your community. I recommend a little bit higher pricing simply because it kind of weeds out a lot of people that aren't going to take action anyway. There's a simple reality to that. It's not always the case. Again, you got to go with what you feel right about. And you might start lower, but figure out what is your target pricing. Circle, again, you want to do the same thing. What is like with this, you want to identify the deliverables. Again, this is going to be less scalable, might be a little bit less scalable. But on top of that, you want to determine the support level. A lot of times what I recommend doing, because the circle, you want scalable, what I would call scalable one-on-one, where it's, if you do one-on-one private, if you have coaching calls, one-on-one calls with people, where you're guiding people through the process of whatever you're helping them with, right? Then if you have those scheduled every month, every week, it can, like, you don't have that, it's not really scalable. And a lot of times those calls don't really need to happen. That's the thing I've learned. So what I'd rather do is get people on a private chat, talk back and forth every day to walk them through it. That way it's more scalable. I can be wherever I need to be. It doesn't take long to chat back with people. And then when they actually need help, then we get on a coaching call. That's usually how I set it up. And that's how, like, I would recommend setting up a circle similar to that. Again, you get to design this how you want to design it. But determine your support level. You might start off with one-on-one calls that are scheduled and then move later to just one-on-one private chat. You can determine how you want to do it. And then you want to determine your scarcity. We only bring on X amount of new people per month, limited to X amount of people. And again, your pricing, I recommend, a lot of people will charge per week with this. And this is what my one client, he started off at $150 a week because he's like, that's what I feel comfortable with. And he just closed his fifth client. I don't remember for sure. Yesterday, he told me he just closed his last client. And his last client that he closed was like, really, you're only charging 150 bucks a month? I'd pay double for that. So he's like, oh, shoot, I needed to raise my pricing here soon. But you want to start with something you're comfortable with and then increase it. And you want to have like a 12 to 16 week commitment. And if people pay up front, prepay, they can save 20%. So again, what's the target pricing that you would have for your circle? Again, this is a lot of one-on-one support. This is something like this is your 12 essentially. This is your, like, your 72, this is your 12, and you can go that route. Then your core, again, go through the same process. What deliverables do you want in your core? This is more done for you stuff. This is the higher level stuff, the higher tier stuff. Might not be scalable right in the beginning, but that's all right, because you're not trying to scale this. You're just trying to work with a couple of people, get them results until you have time to build out your circle and your community. So determine your support level, one-on-one chat, one-on-one scheduled calls, could have a combination of those things. And you might not have many boundaries because your goal is just to get people results, period. Until you get good at it, until your offer is where you really trust it, so you can create a more scalable version. Again, what's the scarcity? How many spots do you have available? What's the goal pricing that you have? It might be 10 to 50K. It might be some creative pricing, which we're going to get into later, but in the next section. But essentially, again, we're just kind of designing, okay, this is what I would like it to look like. This would be kind of cool. This is my long-term goal. This is my end goal, is to have it look like this. So write it out. Again, the highest tier, you want to provide everything you possibly can within reason, especially in the beginning, to provide a result. Brainstorm what you could include to make sure that person gets the results. Again, we created the deliverables before this. So you might include all the higher level deliverables here and have the lower level deliverables in the circle in the community. But it's only limited to like 3 people at a time or something. Also, keep in mind that you're building this based on how best you thrive. Therefore, if you hate doing specific stuff, don't include it in your offer. You might in the beginning, because here's the thing, if our heart is to serve people, then we're going to be willing to do things that we might not like in the beginning until we can find a more scalable way to do it. And that's all right. Like, for instance, like, I don't want to set up all people's tech. Like I get caught up in that. However, in the beginning, as I'm working with some core people, guess what I'm doing? I'm building out all their tech. Why? Because I'm good at it. I can do it. I just don't like doing it, but I can, and I want to help them. So that from a heart of service, sometimes we got to do things we don't really want to do long term, simply to help people get the result. Now you want to take all these things that you're kind of putting out here. You want to determine, okay, and usually it's just the core. It might just be the core where it's unscalable, but it's stuff that you have that you can start with. And that's what you want to start with, usually. So you want to determine what's your minimum viable product and your MVP. This is the offer you start with. Usually the core, since we want to get the highest level of result possible as quick as possible. This allows us to get paid while building the rest, the circle out and all the other stuff. Again, it might just be the core. After you have this set up and you figure out, okay, these are deliverables I'm including. Okay, this is what we're going to do. Okay, we're going to do it. That might be what you start with. But again, you want to start with what you currently have available so it doesn't like, or something you can create really quickly that doesn't take that much time, and determine what you need to create in at minimum to deliver value. Add in all of the one-on-one support that is needed to ensure success, and list all of the other deliverables that you might even need to mark as coming soon because you're like, hey, this is what I'm going to be, this is what I'm building on. Like for instance, I tell people like, hey, I'm building out a go ahead level snapshot so you have everything in that you need for it. But for right now, I'll help you build it. I'll just set it up for you. It costs a little bit extra, but that's the way it is right now. But eventually, like I'll have people, I might even have an employee in place or somebody that I partner with that loves to set these things up. That once I have my snapshot complete, I might just say, hey, I might hand it off to them. And that's part of my process where they take care of it. You know, again, you get to be creative. What's the best way to get started? What's your simplest way to get started? List out deliverables. It might just be what you create here in your core, but list out, okay, this is my starting offer. This is what I'm going to start with. Now, we want to add in some quick wins. And what I mean by that is every great offer has 1 to 3 quick wins that make new clients really happy within the first 1 to 4 weeks of joining that you don't really give away anywhere else. So the goal is like to figure out, okay, what are quick wins that you can install in this offer? Like now that you know kind of your deliverables and you know kind of what you're going to provide, what are some quick wins? Because if you build something around a quick win, then people are be like, once they experience that quick win, and they're like, wow, that was worth my whole investment. Like if you can get people to do that within 1 to 4 weeks, then everything else is just a bonus. And so you want to figure out, like, think through these things. That's why I'm adding that it's in here because I think it's important. Is you want to think through those quick wins to get it really started and get it going. So here's ways you can do quick wins. You can think through the onboarding process. Like once people join your core offer, what's going to be the process, the actual delivery process that you're going to take them through? Like, what's a quick win? Like a quick win, even right away, is like right after they sign up, the day after they sign up, schedule a call, have a conversation with them, and you're just, hey, I just want to connect with you, see where you're at, see where you're going, get a get it, let's get a plan together for you specifically over the next 12 weeks, 16 weeks to make sure you get the results that you want to get. Okay. Like that's a quick win where they're like, oh, that felt good. I had a good experience with that because that's what you want them to have. So you're thinking through, is there a quick win that you can get right in the beginning? Another thing is determine something they can do right away to get more of what they want without much effort. Like a weight loss example. Have them do a 3-day cleanse. Like you might not even tell people that you start with a cleanse. They're like, hey, I have this 3-day cleanse. I'm going to send you this product out as a bonus. Where it's a 3-day cleanse, you're going to start getting results within the first 3 days of working with me. So then they're like, oh, that was kind of cool. Like, I love this. So what's something that you can include that's a quick win? It might be like, again, a 3-day cleanse, or for me, one of my quick wins that I've helped people do is help them create a Facebook post that they put on Facebook with their offer that talks about their offer. And then all of a sudden they are having conversations and they might even close some people right away within the first week of working with me. So determine a habit. Another thing you can do is determine a habit, consistent action step they can start right away that will move the needle toward what they want. Again, a weight loss example, have them start tracking steps and trying to hit a goal that's more than what they used to. Challenge them to something. So when they start doing it, they're like, and they get in the rhythm of it, they're like, wow, this feels good. This challenge feels kind of good. Like I get that. And so it becomes a quick win just because they feel so much better. It's perceived quick win because now they're getting more steps in. They can track it because they have it on their phone all the time. Then they're like, oh, that's kind of cool. I love this. So they're feeling like they're getting a quick win. Define a quick win that's in your journey and the benefit of it. Again, what's a quick win that you can get people within the first 1 to 2, 3, 4 weeks that may not be one of the deliverables you even thought of or even part of your main process, but you're like, ooh, if I add this in, this really puts it over the top. Again, figure out what is that quick win. List the quick wins that you can give and name them. If it's worth more than what they paid for it, then you'll get a client for a long time because they're like, wow, this person helped me so quickly. Like I'm sold, man. This is awesome. That's how to keep clients. If you can point to the quick win and share testimonials of people getting results from it, it can help justify your offer as well. So in the long run, you might say, hey, we had people join in the first week. They're doing they're just following this process right here that you get when you join, and they got this result quickly. Like for instance, there's one program that I'm part of where he does this thing that he teaches called the cash campaign. And essentially it's a 15-day journey of what to post on Facebook or on social media that will help you get results really quickly with just by making some small tweaks to your offer. And people are following that and they're getting results quickly. And then it was like, well, shoot, I already paid for a full year of this. I might as well pay it right now and stay part of this because this is awesome. So like that's the idea. Is we want to solidify people's purchase decision by helping them get a quick win. And this is very important, by the way. So by this time, if you follow along, you'll have the core of your offer ready to go with a minimum viable product you can start pitching to the marketplace. So this is the core of it. Now we actually have something solid, guys. Like we build everything up to get to this point, to have something solid that people really enjoy, and that it is our offer right here, where we know kind of where we want to go with it and how we want to do it. Okay, now we're ready for the final step of this, or the second to final step, because we want to create our offer doc after this. But this is polish. And what I mean by polish is where we put everything together and we actually give it a name, we give it a tagline, figure out what we're going to call our offer, we figure out some of the different elements of it that we want to add to it to make it really, really good. So that's what we're doing here in this section to make it irresistible to the right person. That's kind of what we want to do. And so how do we do this? Well, first of all, we got to come up with a name and a tagline. And a name and a tagline is something that clearly defines it, that people are like, once they hear the name or once they hear it, they're like, oh, this makes sense. And there's different ways you can kind of think through this. This is something I did a training with a guy named Jason Fladlin, who builds webinars. So I've been certified by his company to build webinars. And in his training, he talked about how to present an offer. And he talked about creating an offer name and a tagline. And this is kind of the different things that he mentioned that I was like, oh, this makes sense. Like if you're thinking about a name, there's different ways to think about it. First of all, you can kind of figure out a name that's kind of just easy to say out loud. And people are like, oh, that's cool. Simple, direct, like Genius Webinars. Again, this is Jason's products. Another one could be focused on the benefit of the product, of the offer, which is Amazing Selling Machine, which is a program he sold that basically help automate the sales process of something. So, or it could be something that sounds more prestigious, like Genius Network. Or it could be focused on giving desire, AMZ Launchpad. Like I want to get launched. So yeah, you could use that in your offer if that's kind of the main part of your offer, is getting launched in something. Or something more memorable, which is Product E-Class, which again, that's something that he created. Or it could be something that has a domain name that you want to get. Again, I created I have a couple different names within my program. Like my main one is my model that I call is a spirit-led creator model, which I got spiritledcreator.com because the domain name was available. So I always look at domain name, by the way. I go to instant domain search, and you can just start typing in like different ideas for domain names, like hybrid community. Like hybrid community, I could buy it for $1,700 if I wanted to, but I'm not going to do that. But this is what I just research a lot of stuff where I look at ideas of something I want to create and a name that I want to have. and find a domain name for it for the simple reason, then I can just send people to the domain name to sign up, which actually this is something circle. Because my offer name is Circle of Thrones. So I could literally just buy this. I haven't bought it yet, so don't go buy it. But I will go buy that after this. So offer name, again, that connects with your audience. They're like, oh, this is really good. There's different ways you can think through it. Figure out what it is, brainstorm ideas, come up with an idea, pick one. And the tagline, in one simple phrase, you want to create desire for your offer. Like if you have compelling proof of something you've done before, you can use in your tagline, like Genius Webinars. He called it the secrets of $100 million in sales, which is what he had produced up to that point. It could be something more descriptive, like product e-class, how to create a world-class info products, kind of a how-to kind of tagline, or it could be more category ownership. AMZ Launchpad, the single greatest tool for ranking your product on Amazon. I don't like using something like the single greatest tool because does he know every tool out there? So I wouldn't use wording like that. But you can kind of like, again, just brainstorm different taglines that you could have, pick one. Circle of Thrones, make a good living, transforming lives at scale with the Holy Spirit. That could be a great tagline. I might change this tagline later. I don't know. But that's an idea, right? So that's an example of mine. But again, you want to probably buy the domain name. I didn't for some reason for this one. I don't know why I haven't yet, but I'm going to buy it after this. That way you have it. But name, tagline, create your name, take your tagline. You want to define the scarcity. And we already kind of mentioned some of this stuff earlier, but everything comes down to supply and demand. And I want you to understand this, which is why I put it in this section. If demand is high, but supply is limited, then perceived value increases. Scarcity defines the limit of supply. So the best types of scarcity that you can start with in your MVP offer, your beta offer, is there's different ways to do this. One, you can do a limited supply of seats. We're only taking on 3 clients with this offer period. It could be something like that. Or it could be more something like we're only taking 3 clients this month on this offer. Or only have one spot available this month for this offer. Whatever it may be, but you define it. The key is to define it, not to create scarcity just for the sake of creating it, but you want to be honest about it. So figure out what scarcity do you want to use for your specific, for this offer that we created. Keys to honesty, don't make it up for the sake of having scarcity. This breaks massive trust. Define how many people you can effectively help in a specific time frame. That's all you're doing is defining the amount of people you can actually help and that you are ready to help. Like I'm not going to say I'm going to like, that's why I want to create a limit to it. So figure out what scarcity do you want to include to your offer. Third is you want to define the urgency. See, scarcity is based on quantity. Urgency is based on a time, deadlines. So by defining a deadline, that's real. And we can kind of engineer some of this stuff. And as we kind of go forward, that's what we usually do is in the circle, in the community, even in the community sometimes, in the community, circle, and core, a lot of times, especially the ones that are more scalable, community and circle, I will have a deadline where I manufacture it in a sense, where I basically just open spots for 1 week a month, and that's it. So before that, if you join before that, you join a wait list, and then 1 week a month, it's open, and then people can join during that time. But then it's limited to, hey, we have 3 spots available, but only for this week. So if you want to join, you got to join this week. Now we just kind of do that cycle of promotion to build up the wait list, adding, then open up a week. So there's ways you can do that. So define urgency. There's ways you can do this, a couple of different ways. You can do a pricing update where it's like this price is only available until this date, until this time. You can do a limited enrollment where client enrollment is only open until blank date this month, like I mentioned, like 1 week a month. Or you could do a disappearing bonus. You can figure out, hey, this is a bonus I want to add that's extra valuable. Like for me, it could be a bonus of like, hey, I'm going to set up all your tech for you, but I'm only going to do it for people that join within this time frame, whatever this bonus is. So you could do that. You could do opportunities disappearing thing where it's like, hey, this is for specific offers where the actual opportunity has a deadline. Things like investing opportunities or upcoming changes, global or local, that will affect this opportunity. So most of you won't have this, but I want to include it just so those of you that do have it, where it is crypto investment opportunity or something like that that's important to get into right now, there's natural urgency that's connected to that. So if that's what you do, again, only if that's what you're doing and what you're helping people with. So define what is the urgency? Like, and a lot of times the urgency can be as simple as this: hey, this price is only available for the next 3 people that sign up. It's prices instead of date and time, it could be until the next 3 people that sign up or whatever. Again, this is limit supply pricing, which is kind of what we mentioned up here. We're only taking on 3 clients at this price. That's more scarcity. For urgency, until this, where you add a date to it as well. So if I launch a beta program with a lot of clients, if you're launching your community, then you might have a beta like a pricing where it's like, hey, this is only available until this date, this is done, until this specific date where the beta closes. So then that's real urgency. Again, we don't want to manufacture these things in a way that's not true. We want to create real, true urgency and true scarcity. Fourth thing is what I do, and this is something that's important in the beginning. In the long run, we don't want a guarantee, because people that buy just because of guarantees are usually not great customers, like I mentioned right here. But we want to be careful how we present one and when it's presented. But the number one reason people won't buy something is the risk associated with it. Our goal is to lower that risk as much as possible to make it easy for people who are the right fit to say yes. A good guarantee will take the people on the fence and help them logically justify their purchase. So this is what you want to do with guarantees. And there's ways we can do this. Again, our long-term goal is to build up our reputation to where we don't need a guarantee. But in the beginning, we don't really have a reputation because people don't know who we are. So we need to it's smart to have some sort of guarantee that we can share so that people can make the right decision so we can help them. Through a guarantee, we are incurring some of the risk. You must do your due diligence to ensure that a guarantee is a win for you and a win for the customer. Make sure you can deliver the result, and therefore the risk is minimal. So first, help people decide if this offer is actually something that's right for them. Second, use a guarantee to justify and lower risk for the pricing of it. So if you're having a conversation with somebody and saying, hey, this is the core, this is what's included, and they're, I just don't know. Or it's like, hey, you know what? I'll add this guarantee to it. Or you just define the guarantee from the beginning. A lot of times I'll do that. But this is the guarantee. If you do XYZ, this is kind of the general framework right here. If you don't achieve XYZ in X time frame, here's what I'm going to do for you. A bad example is, we'll get you 20 clients guaranteed. Like, that's not a great guarantee because it doesn't have any conditions to it. As a better example, say we will get 20 clients in your first 30 days. So it puts a time frame on it, or you get your money back and your advertising dollars spent with us. The better we can get this, that makes sense for us. Again, we are reversing risk, but we know if we actually help people, then most people won't actually need to take the guarantee. So here's the different types of them. There's unconditional guarantees. Now, again, I'm including all this, like, a lot of times we don't need, there's ways we can provide it in the beginning. That's the easiest way to do it. But I want you to understand how these work so that you can choose to add them later if you want to. Make sense? So there's unconditional guarantees. These are basically trials where people pay first and see if they like it. And this gets a lot more people to buy, but can also get you a lot more refunds. Again, I don't recommend doing this. Like, if I do this, usually I do it from a standpoint of like, hey, just to make sure this is the right fit, I'm going to give you 15 days to try it out. And if you don't like it, it's not the right fit, then ask us and we'll get you a full refund. Now, what I've realized with this is what I do for one of my clients. But what I've realized is when we started focusing on a very specific person and focus and got our path, our process that we help people with more focused and more direct, that nobody takes us up on our guarantee. Literally nobody. We haven't had anybody take us up for a while, but for a little bit, our marketing was a little bit less clear and our path was a little bit less clear. And so then we had people join that weren't the right fit. And so then they got the refund. But if you only sell to people that are the right fit, then you're probably not going to get a refund. Again, sometimes you might. So having this in there is not a bad idea, especially in your community, just to be like, because in the circle and the core, it's probably not the best idea. for the simple reason that people will, like, you're actually doing some one-on-one work, so it doesn't quite make sense, as much sense. But options are you can give a full refund, you can do a 50% refund, you can do a refund of their ad spend. Again, if somebody, if like this would be a very particular offer if people are, if you're helping somebody with their ad spend or any ancillary costing incurred. So you could do like whatever thing that they need to buy outside of what you do, you could cover their expense if you don't help them get a certain result. That'd be a way you could do it. You could pay for a competitor's program instead, which is kind of a funny way to provide a guarantee. Or you could return their money plus an additional, or this is better than just a money back guarantee if you want to do that. But example, for any reason or no reason at all, you determine that this product is not for you, contact us within 30 days and we'll give you a full refund, no questions asked, and we'll let you keep access to blank portion of the product or a full product. Again, this is one way you can do it. A simple way, again, you try us out 15 days just to kind of ease of mind guarantee here. We know sometimes it's not the right fit, it's not quite what you wanted. So if it's not the right fit, just ask us and we'll give you a full refund. That's usually how it is, how I do it. Then you have conditional guarantees. And this includes kind of a terms and conditions to the guarantee. You want it to be better than a money back guarantee, and you can get super creative with it. Think about what a person must do to be successful. Make that the conditions. In a perfect world, people will do the things and get the result and therefore not need a refund. So you want to define what the conditions are and the result. So what must they do and what result will they get if they do it? And then determine what you're going to do if these results don't get met. And then you then create proof that you'll follow through and name the guarantee. Like this is an example of one, like double blessings guarantee. If you follow along with this program and do 3 live webinars and don't at least double your investment, we'll personally coach you one-on-one for up to 6 months until you do. Like that's a good guarantee. That's what actually this is the kind of guarantee that I recommend you start with. Something similar to this. So pay attention to this one specifically. You can figure out, okay, what do they need to do? Okay, they need to follow along with the program. They need to do 3 live webinars. We determine what the conditions are, and then we determine the result. And don't at least double their investment. Then we're going to do this thing right here for up to 6 months until they do. So that way they know they're going to get a return on their investment because the risk is on your end to help make sure they get this result from doing this. So this is usually the way to go, especially in the beginning. Like I'll personally coach you. You're not giving anything back. You're just saying, hey, you're going to work for free until you get them the result for up to a certain amount of time. But some people won't do their part and then you have to keep, so you got to make it clear, create clear boundaries. Another one, this is the one we want to get to. And maybe like sometimes some of you may choose to start with this because you have some reputation or you just want to start with this and want to actually define it. And this is where you explicitly state all sales are final. Own this and come up with a creative reason for it. For example, we only work with clients we know we can help get a specific result. And to ensure that result, that what we provide is highly personalized and customized. Therefore, it would be a disservice to you and us to provide any type of guarantee that lowers our commitment to each other. Like that's a good explanation of why you're not having a guarantee. Then there's implied guarantees. And this is what I've done a lot of. Like this is a good way to start, but this is what I've done a lot of is implied guarantees. And implied guarantees these are any offers are kind of performance based where you're helping people get a trackable result. Like if you're losing weight and that's trackable, losing fat and you can track that fat loss, and then you could literally do according to the weight that you help people lose in your ability to help people get a result. So performance based could be like, hey, only pay me X amount per sale or per show up or per pound of weight lost. Like it could be something like that. Again, with your offer, it might not work like this. Or get creative and see if there is a way for you to do it. Or another one is profit share. This one I've done a lot. Again, for me specifically, because I'm helping people get a specific result money-wise. So X% of profit or X% of gross profit. Example, this is X up front. To get you set up, then you can only pay us X percentage of profit of sales minus ad spend until X amount is paid in total. This is an offer that I've made quite a bit, where it was like $5,000 up front, and then 20 or 30% of profit until 25K was paid. Like that's an offer that I've made quite a bit. And it works. So example, this is only X amount per month for 6 months plus, or another way to do it is like have a retainer, a monthly retainer. This is a monthly retainer of X amount per month for 6 months, plus a percentage of profit, which might be a lower percentage, might be 25%. Sales minus ad spend, our main source of payment is dependent on your results. So you could set it up that way. This is one I've done as well that works really well. So kind of think through this. Is there guarantees that you can create that makes sense with your offer? If not, don't use them. But there's ways you can do this. You can stack different guarantees. Like you can have an unconditional 30-day guarantee with a conditional triple your money back guarantee in 90 days if they take certain actions. You can have two conditional guarantees where it's like, hey, if you don't make your first 10K in 60 days, I'm going to do this. Or if you don't make your first 30K in 90 days, as long as you do these things, then I'll do this. So there's, again, you can stack different ones if you want to. Again, the better these are, the better, like, again, they're great to get people to say yes if they should be saying yes. But we don't want to use these to get people to say yes that shouldn't be saying yes. We want to determine if they're actually a good fit and if this is the right thing for them. And then we can create guarantees based off of that. So now we want to determine what our actual beta or MVP pitch, price and pitch will be, and what the pricing is. Knowing your guarantee, how much is it worth for people? A great guarantee can help you determine the price. Again, in the beginning, the key is the pricing should be something that's good for you and good for the customer. That's the biggest thing. Does it make sense for the result that you're providing? Does it make sense for the time and cost that you incur delivering it? And do you feel comfortable with the price? Like the idea of just raise your prices is a bad idea because you want to start with something that you can justify and that you can comfortably say, knowing that you're going to deliver better on it than what you're telling people, right? So your beta, it should be a steal in the beginning. Specifically, you want to make you don't care if you don't get quite your end of the stick in, because your goal is simply to get a result for people that you can prove your model and your message works, that you can then have a more scalable version of your offer. So in the beginning, don't be afraid to have a low price where the goal is to get feedback and proof it works. Help people get a low price, get testimonials, and scale to higher pricing. Some people that I've worked with have actually started for free. Like my one client right now, he has his 5th paying client but he started for 3. He got 3 clients for free. And he just coached them one-on-one because he didn't really know his process, trying to figure that stuff out. So we started really simple. And now he knows his process, and he created his core offer, and now he's selling that. And he's doing it at a low price right now, which is $150 a week, because he felt comfortable with that for 12 weeks. He felt comfortable with that, and now he's slowly ramping it up because he just had conversations with people that are saying, why are you only charging that much? Because with the right people, they will be willing to pay. And that's the thing. So some people will, and here's the thing that's interesting. There's a level of people and a level of mindset in people where if you don't charge enough, they will actually avoid working with you, because they're like, well, if you're only charging that much, like, I don't know if I could, like, if you're even worth it. And so some of you, because of your own mindsets that you have against money and poverty mindedness, are actually doing yourself a disservice by charging as little as you're charging. And you need to raise your prices. Others of you, but again, do what you're comfortable with and then grow from that, because the right person, like, if you're solving a real problem, then they'll spend whatever money they need to get that problem solved with somebody that will actually help them solve it, that will actually walk with them, that is creating a transformational offer. Again, our goal is to create something transformational that gets results. And so they're going to be willing to pay a good price. So figure out, what is your pricing. Again, the easiest is, this is X amount per week for X amount of time frame. If you want save 20%, you can pay in full for only X amount. Like, that's a easy way to get started. But if you have a guarantee that works, like, then you can have a guarantee where it's like a conditional guarantee, where it's something like, hey, this is a the 20-pound weight loss guarantee. If you don't lose 20 pounds within the first 3 months of working together, then I will work with you for free until you do. Right. And so it's like, oh, I'm going to lose 20 pounds. And again, if that's your guarantee, then you want to work with people that you know you can help them get that result. So that's a great way to get started. Again, determine what that is, determine your guarantee, and then you're good to go. You're ready to get your offer doc created and ready to get started. Again, with the final details in place, you should have created an offer you feel really good about and that your clients love. The next step is to take all the notes and information you gathered and put it together into an offer doc and start helping people. Because in the process of helping people, again, we're going to go to the foundation of this again. In the process of helping people, you need to know action precedes clarity. And just by helping people, you're going to actually get a lot of clarity on this process. There's things that will work better. And when you're a scientist, you're going to come up with even more information. So your goal is to take what you've created and put together and polish, put it into an offer doc, and then test it out. It doesn't need to be perfect. You don't need to have all the details. Again, this is like this program, this workshop is to help you get some clarity. And then you take action and you test it out. And if you do that, you will be successful. But you got to do it. You got to learn from it and keep testing and tweaking until it wins. So welcome to the Create Your Offer Doc section. Up to this point, we actually put everything together we need for the offer doc. And so now you have something to go with. You have an offer that feels good, sounds good, is going to really help people and transform lives. That's the goal. So now let's actually put it into an offer doc. And this is kind of how to do it. We'll use this offer doc, by the way, to go over our offer with clients and calls. And eventually we'll send them to the offer doc for them to review. And you might even add this, like take this information, put it into a webinar at the end of a webinar and just sell it right straight ahead. Because that's what we do with my client, one of my clients, where he has his community offer all ready to go and set up. So we just sell straight from a webinar. So there's no in between, there's nothing extra. It's all automated, and we have an automated process that sells it as well. But he likes doing the workshops and the webinars, so we do that as well. And we sell right at the end of, we basically took his offer doc, put it right at the end of his workshop, his webinar. He goes through it, and then people end up buying right straight from there. So that's ways you can use it. In the beginning, yeah, you can even eventually, as you refine this offer doc, you can send it to people via chat or DMs or whatever, have them, if they reach out to you, hey, I love what you're doing. I'd love to learn more. And you can just send, hey, they're like, hey, well, here's the offer doc. Let me know what you think. And so you can do sales through that where you don't have to have phone calls or any of that stuff. But in the beginning, our best goal is to actually have conversations with people. Why? Because in conversations, we're going to learn what people don't feel right about in our offer doc and what they feel right about, because it gives you that feedback that nothing else can give you. So in the beginning, the goal is clarity, not cleverness. Keep it simple. You can always add things later if you wish. Get the basics down, nothing more. Afterwards, review by feeling it out. Put yourself in the shoes of your audience. Read it. How do they feel? What are they thinking? Does it make sense? Is it desirable? Edit it accordingly. Sometimes there's too much information about the phases of your offer and you need to simplify. Sometimes it's not really clear. You need to make it more clear. But you just kind of go through it, feel through it. And this is the thing, following our intuition, which I believe is just the Holy Spirit speaking to us and through us, that's what we want to do. From a place of empathy, we're creating this, we're writing this, and we're reviewing it from a fresh perspective. You might want to come back later. And that's the thing that works a lot for me is I'll write something, I'll create something, I'll set it aside for a day, then I'll come back later and go through it again. So here's a template. I just want to go through it to make sure you understand it. At the core, you start with this. Headline is always just invitation. I usually have an image up here as well that is an offer image, kind of like for instance, this be kind of an image like this with your offer name on it. You can create that in Canva. Again, all that stuff you can figure out, but create your offer doc. So then you have the name and the tagline. Again, we created all the stuff. We're just plugging it into this document. So my desire is to help. Call out your core audience, then insert your core promise that you created, then insert the different elements of your promise. What were the elements? Without these things, while having this going on, those kind of elements. Figure out the bullet points for it. Put it into bullet point form, put it in here. Now we want to create a paragraph. I usually have a paragraph here where I describe the culprit, the problem, the culprit, and the solution, because their goal is to connect with that. So this is an example of it. I meet a lot of one-on-one coaches who struggle with getting consistent revenue. Again, this is my audience. And I could say spirit-led one-on-one coaches, kingdom-minded one-on-one coach, whatever I want to call them. But they struggle with this particular thing. Most of them think that if they only, again, this is me connecting to the culprit, what they think they need to do. Most of them think that if they only get more clients, they could solve this problem. However, I found that what they really need is a better way to present their expertise, a way that's more scalable and more desirable. That's why I help one-on-one coaches follow the spirit-led creator model. This is where you introduce your model. Again, your signature process to build hybrid communities. And this is something within my model that makes it work. That model Jesus ministry. The model's Jesus ministry. So it sets you up. Like it solidifies what your offer is and what you help your positioning in the marketplace. So if people connect with this, then they're like, oh, that's really good. Then you go, okay, first of all, this is who this is specifically for. So you insert your different criteria. You figure out a way to describe it to where if people read it, they're like, oh, that makes sense. That makes sense. Yeah, that's me. That's me. That's me. You want them to be like, the right people to be like, oh, that's me. That's me. That's me. This is exactly what I need. So find a way to describe that. Different criteria, so your desires, connected values, stuff like that you want to put in here. Then what are the phases? There are X amount of phases. How many phases? 3 to 5 in the spirit-led creator model, whatever your signature model is. Phase 1, you name the phase. Then, you know, in the first X amount of days or weeks, we're going to reach this particular milestone, right? So again, you already written all this stuff down. You're just putting it in here. And here's how we're going to do this. Here's how we're going to reach this milestone. One, we're going to, and this is like the overview of your steps. You don't want to share every step. You want to just share the overview where it's like, one, we're going to design your hybrid community offer. 2, we're going to build out your core presentation, your core messaging presentation to fill your offer. 3, we're going to create the 2-week cycles. We're going to present this core message in 2-week cycles. We're going to do a 2-week cycled launch or something. Again, come up with a name for it. And we're going to present it. That's how we're going to get to this first step. Again, I didn't talk about, hey, you got to set up all these landing pages and got all this tech and all this different stuff. I didn't need to. The key is just to provide the most simplest thing, like usually 3 steps of what you're going to do in the first X amount of time to help them get to this promised result for this milestone. And you do the second milestone, same way. Third milestone, same way. Now here's your options to work together. Again, this is if you have multiple tiers, you'll have the tier name, what's included, the deliverables to it, like at the core, it's this and this and this, and these are deliverables. This is how I deliver it. This is what it's going to look like. So people are like, oh, this makes sense. So this is how you help me apply these phases, these steps. Then the name of your tier, the investment for this is for the next X amount of people. This is X amount per week, and it's a 16-week or 12-week commitment. After that, it's month to month, and you can cancel anytime. Or if you want to save 20%, you can, which is X amount of dollars, you can prepay for X amount. So that's kind of your tier. Again, whatever your pricing is, whatever you're feeling right about. Your guarantee, you insert it. You insert your guarantee there, whatever the guarantee is that you came out with. And then tier 2, same thing. So again, this is how simple this is. It's not really complicated, but you're just putting it all together. But again, we went through the offer evolution, how it all works. Then we went through all the 7 steps: profitability, person, positioning, process, productize, package, and polish. And then creating your offer doc. And then finally is we want to share your offer doc, basically create a post to get your first clients, most likely, or at least having conversations with people. The goal is to get conversations, and you might in those conversations end up getting a client. That's the goal.